life. You know what I'm saying? Right now, I'm pretty much content with just rhyming all day.
Or Digital can instantly share pictures.
Hello. I am sorry, but I must interrupt this show. Later, you know what it is. Hey, Ham Solo. It's time, baby. Low. It's turn out we do. Hey. They said we said we it. They said we said we on. They said we said we strong. They said we said we go. We say that you heard right. 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 They said we said we it. They said we said we on. They said we said strong. They said we said go. We say that you heard right. We say that you heard right. We say that you heard right. We say that you man, I swear that it's imminent. I've been going so hard on my penmanship. About to go in and buy me a wheel. And I pull that shit fresh off the dealership. I can leave you on red like an Xbox. Got me laughing at you like you Red Fox. Got you chasing Hot Wheels like a matchbox. EA running the game and it don't stop. Super cold like I'm playing for Blizzard. Got you all in my sights like Red Dead Redemption. Never gonna slip on my pimpin'. Better get out my way, bitch, I'm on a mission. Really ain't no competition. I'm steady grilling opposition. I'm get up and ready to win. They can play it how they play, but fuck what you say. I'm getting this money today. Last of us like a dying breed. Down the ride like a noble steed. Fatality moves, I make you bleed. That's on any game, that's on any screen. Shut up and give me your money. They said we so lit. Even if I take an L, we coming back just to show that we don't quit. They said we said we it. They said we said we on. They said we said we strong. They said we said go.
Greetings and salutations, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another installment of Everything Plus Gaming on TSWS. I'm your host, Loke7. And joining me as always is Mr. Ty Talks all the way from Ireland and Mr. Orshus in South Africa using Vodacom as his ISP. Orshus, how are you? And what you've been playing since yesterday?
Vodacom, this guy. Anyway, no, like not much. Like I mean, did I play anything of? Nah. I think I'm now just busy installing Oblivion. But yeah, not much, man. Like I'm just trying to troubleshoot a couple of things, just 1-2 things on my PC. I had to take my graphics card apart. I think I told you guys. But anyways, yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's pretty much it.
No big update on my side.
All right.
Mhm.
Ty, what you been playing? How you doing?
Hey, sorry about that. Nothing new. I've just been. I told you guys I was playing It Takes Two. So there's nothing I've been playing. Would I have downloaded Oblivion? To be honest, no. But I did send it to my friend who's been saying that he needs a new RPG to play. Big fan of Skyrim, and Oblivion is one of those games where he played it for a little bit, but then he quickly moved on to Skyrim because he was played it a little bit late. So the remake makes a lot of sense for him to purchase, and to be honest, it makes a lot of sense for me to purchase as well because I never really got into Oblivion like that. And if you're telling me, it's not a remaster, it's a remake, so I might give this a download. Actually, who am I kidding? I'm not. I'm playing Shadows. I don't have time. I don't have time for all these games, man. There's too many.
Finally, someone was honest. Finally.
Yeah.
There's all this talk about Oblivion, and I'm sitting here thinking, guys, who has time for all of this? Like, no offense, man. Right? No offense. Myself, I'm interested as well, but it's a lot of games. I'm currently playing WRC 5. I'm on my last few races, right? Then there's Fire Emblem, Three Houses. And then there's also the first Berserker Kazan. All right?
Mm-hmm.
Who am I lying to? Who's lying here saying that no, there's time to add another game into that rotation? I'm already very upset. Well, tongue in cheek, obviously, but already kind of frustrated that damn, Clay Obscure Expedition 33 is coming out in like 2 days, and I have to play that one. I'm definitely skipping Oblivion. I'm definitely skipping it. No offense. Rachie says, "Boys, I'm tired. It's been months. I can't find anything to complain with Xbox except Game Pass release schedule." Yes, Rachie. Listen, listen, listen. No one here wants to say that Xbox has had a bad time. Can we agree on this specific fact? I know it's not one of the main highlights for today, but I just want to get it out the way for Rachie's sake and for anyone else's that comes in later. Ty Oshus, if you owned only an Xbox and you paid for Game Pass, would you be frustrated with what you've had from 2025? Be honest, boys.
Ushers, you want to go first?
Uh, if I only owned
Be
an
honest,
X,
Oshus. Welcome in, Fuzzy says, "I'm sure we'll find something to complain about." LOL. Oh, you know what? It's a good thing we're asking Oshus, right? Because if anyone can make this impossible, Hail Mary or 3-point shot from the logo, it's Oshus. Oshus,
well, the thing
if
is,
you
like,
owned an Xbox,
yeah,
answer the question. Don't don't
yes,
don't tell me all your stories. Don't tell me why you used to be a fan in 2013. Oshus.
mm-hmm,
If you bought a Series X and you
mm-hmm,
have if you only bought a Series X and you
which
have
I
Game
did,
Pass
yeah,
for the rest of this year and
hmm
you're playing it since January, do you have any legit complaints?
of course I do. I always have complaints.
Well, I'm trying to hear 'em. What's the complaint, Oshus?
No, 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 no. You said we have no time for my stories. I answered your question. Yes, I would. So please move on to Thai.
Yes, you'd have complaints.
Yes, of course I would have complaints.
This
Like,
man,
I
this
mean,
guy,
I,
this guy's doing
I
drugs.
still own an Xbox, and it's the only console I have.
This guy's doing drugs.
Uh,
Ty,
um,
Ty.
There's two ways to answer this question, right? So the first one
Mm,
is just to your point. If we're talking about strictly 2025, then the answer is
yes,
you might be a
strictly
bit iffy.
2025.
Yeah, you might be a bit iffy. I think Atom Fall is in the high 70s or mid 70s, but it's a game you can try out and play. Avowed is low 80s, so that's a good catch. Then you have the other games like Towerborn, and you have South of Midnight. So you haven't really gone your big blockbuster games for Game Pass, right? So so far you might be a bit iffy about that, but it is still early. We're just 3 months in, so I don't think there's anything to be too upset about. I think Avowed is a good get for Game Pass, and then now obviously with the drop of Elder Scrolls. Oblivion remake. I think that's a good catch as well. And then soon we have Clear Obscure coming. So just if we were to extend this question by an extra like 2 weeks, then if we go a little bit further into May, I think that's when Doom is coming out. Then it's a great deal, right? But that's for that singular person. Now, if you're looking at games from the past, like back catalog, like 2024, 2023, 2022, then yeah, I think Game Pass is, makes a very good claim for a consistent good service. And if you have 33 Immortals as well, as Richie said, um, I think the thing about Game Pass for me is like I was like
Oh
literally thinking
yeah,
about this when I
33
was
Immortals
walking.
also came out on Game Pass. True,
Yeah,
true.
Towerborn as well.
Mm.
If I was thinking about this when I was walking, I went to the shop and I was thinking
Who
if
walks? It's 2025. Who walks?
I mean it's like 10 minutes away,
The hell? This guy's out here talking about walking.
But I was
I
thinking
walk
like
everywhere.
if I'm if I'm a
I'm just
kid,
messing with him.
like it's easy for me to tell my parents, you don't have to buy me games, just subscribe to Game Pass. And guess what? Um,
Yeah.
give me CD keys. I'll go on CD keys and I'll get it for cheap. And whenever Black Friday comes, I'll do the math for them and tell them like, okay, if you buy all this for the year on this date, I'm good for the year. And they
Damn.
would have loved that, and I would have
I
loved it
would have
too.
loved that.
Because
Damn.
I'm playing all these games. I'm playing Fable. I'm playing Forza. I'm playing Help. Like it would have just. It's such an insane deal. So I think Game Pass is actually really good for families that have a bunch of kids, who want to play different games. I will come home and I'll just have a selection of all these games. And yeah, an Oblivion remake again. You know, I'm like my friends are looking to purchase these games, like at least three of them, on the group chat. And I reminded them like, oh, don't forget it's on Game Pass. They were like, oh, it's on Game Pass as well. And I'm like, yeah, this is Xbox titles go day one on Game Pass. I don't think they'll sign up to it. You know, they're kind of like the guys who like to buy things. They don't really like subscriptions. But you could tell like they were interested. Like, oh, okay, I could subscribe to this and play for like to my heart contents for like $20 a month. And then if I was like, I promise you, if I was to tell them like, oh, but don't forget, Clear Obscure's coming as well. Doom is
To Game
coming
Pass as well.
and then it's when you have those list of games, and then you remind them about the past games as well that's come out on Game Pass. Oh, you always wanted to play Starfield, but you never really thought it was good enough to buy. Now
Well, there you go.
There you go. Now Game Pass becomes like a really good staying power subscription service. So yeah, I mean, to answer your question, I think January from January until now, maybe you might be so about it, but that's looking at it from a small point of view. You gotta go bigger.
I'm talking 2025. I'm talking
2025.
If you
up
take the
until
whole
now,
year into
it's still
context.
maybe medium, but as soon as you get a bit further down, a few weeks later when you get Club Obscure and Doom, I think it's an amazing deal.
Okay.
I agree with that. Like I think,
No. You already thrown shit at Xbox.
You said
were
this
not
far.
gonna get a
If
chance.
he includes what is it, Clear Obscure, then
I'm talking
and
2025. I said if you own a Series X, you have Game
Mm.
Pass for the rest of the year. Do
Yeah.
you have anything to complain about from Xbox?
Just because they've got good games doesn't mean there's nothing to complain about. Like Game Pass is good
Christ,
value.
on a stick.
It's great value, but it doesn't
What's the
negate all the
purpose?
other
What's
shitbox
the
things that
purpose?
they do.
Next, Oshers will say just because Netflix has good shows doesn't mean you don't have anything to complain about. My guy,
Of
why
course,
do
you
you
always
pay
have
for
something to complain
Netflix?
about.
What? All right.
Because I pay for something, does that mean I don't have to complain?
No,
That makes
no,
no sense.
Oshers. I didn't say because you pay for something.
Mhm.
If you're gonna put stuff in my mouth, put the actual ding dong right in my mouth. All right. What I said was you pay for video
Wait,
games
what?
on Game Pass, right?
Put the actual
That's what I
words in
put
my
in my
mouth.
mouth. Yeah. That's the girth that I put in my mouth. I said
This ding dong.
you pay for video games on Game Pass.
Yeah.
Game Pass is delivering far beyond what you're paying for. What's your complaint? Do you have a complaint? Tayo's only reasonable
Always.
person. You out here talking about, oh yeah, it's definitely stuff to complain about. I ain't
There's
trying to
always
listen to
stuff
that,
to
dude.
complain about. Like,
Well, as
for instance,
far as I'm concerned, that's
Yeah.
cap. I'm not
Okay.
trying to listen to it. I'm sorry.
Alright,
Richie
fine.
says working is for peasants. Loke rides a elephant at GameStop to buy the Switch 2. That's two lies, Richie. Because one, I don't have an elephant, and two, there's no game. Actually, three, there's no GameStop in Mozambique, and three, the only way I'm using a Switch 2 is if I get like a review copy. That's the only way. Fuzzy says Loke's been listening to Ye again. Hey, I heard like the rumors that he got molested. Like, damn.
This guy.
That's sad. That sucks to hear, man. It sucks to hear, and I hope he heals.
Well, he didn't say he was
in this
molested.
life.
He said he
All right, let's not get into the details. Let's
He
not get
said they
into the
did
weeds.
stuff. That's what he said. He said
All
exactly
right.
what you said. That people were putting ding dongs in his mouth, and he was like, "Yes, like you were saying a couple."
Stanley Francois says pause. Anyways,
He was also distributing ding dongs to his cousin. That's what he
Like-
said.
like no offense, man, but you see the stuff that he has done
Oh,
with his partners in terms of like in open and stuff like
Yeah.
that. It kind of starts making sense. Like, yeah, of course, some you have to be, you at some level, right? You have to be damaged to do certain things. So I wasn't
Yeah.
surprised when I saw it. Richie says Oshus is like the Israelite in the desert, complaining nonstop, even they didn't lack any.
This is not true. it was tough for those guys, and Moses was not providing enough sanitation. Okay,
Oh
they had
my
a very
goodness. There was no air
you can't take us out
conditioning.
of slavery and then not have provisions for us. Okay, doesn't
Goodness.
work like that.
Eye for an eye, justice. Welcome in. Smash the like button, everyone. Share out the pod. Membership's alive. It's $2 a pop. There's channel emotes, etc. All right, all right, all right. So, Ty, you watch this. You watch this presentation. What did you think of it? Besides the fact that you're not going to get it, what did you think of like the quality of the game that's on offer?
Yeah. So what I love about this is that it's not a remaster, and I think this game doesn't need a remaster.
It is a
Um,
remaster.
No, it's a
I
remake.
think remasters are getting a bit vague now because when Metro Prime came out as a remaster, that's what Nintendo called it. I'm looking at that title and I'm thinking, nah, this is in between a remaster and a remake. And for me, a remaster is just a HD kind of skin. But as soon as you tell me that you've started to rebuild new assets and
No.
you're actually
Ah,
adding more to it, that's not a. I mean, what are you remastering there? Like, you're not making something just HD. You're creating new content. Okay, we're adding this new run button. We're doing this as well. You can now do this. You can do that, and that's very, very different. This is a remake. I don't know why they're calling it a remaster, if they are.
I know why they're calling it a remaster. I watched the whole show, and I was with you in the same camp of like, this is not a remaster. Clearly, this is a remake. That's what I thought. And then when they were explaining what they did is just bring the graphics and quality of life stuff into the game.
Hmm.
But the core of the game, the heart of the game, which is how they described it, the mechanics of Oblivion in terms of like dialogue, quests, characters, etc., that they said that's the heart of the game, and then the graphics and all the visual changes that we're seeing, the assets that you're talking about, and whatever, that's the
Hmm.
body of the game. So for them, a remake is when you change everything. But really, all they've changed here is the the polish on the game. But it's the same game in terms of remember the Mass Effect Legendary Edition. Those are just
Hmm.
remasters. And even if they brought those graphics back into 2025, 2026, as long as you still had the same core systems of how you choose dialogues, which characters, what even happens in the story, etc., 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 for them it's the same game. It's not a remake; it's a remaster. A remake is when you change everything. So I just want to give you guys that extra context of how they see it at Bethesda. But go ahead, Ty.
Yeah. So it's great. The game looks fantastic. If you
Mm,
never played Oblivion before, then I think this is an
I never
easy.
did.
Yeah, this is an easy purchase for you because the game is a classic game. Tells the
Jesus,
story.
87,000.
Tells you what.
Fuzzy says Oblivion is already up to 87,000 concurrent on Steam. Bro, 87,000 already playing this thing. That's
Mhm.
crazy. That's
Yeah.
crazy. All right, Ty, continue. I'm sorry for interrupting.
No,
Continue.
no, it's fine. I think um 87,000 just shows that like when people say these shadow drops don't necessarily work, and I think that's an interesting topic to even discuss. Would this have been
Mm.
better if Xbox had planned it and laid the foundations? I don't really think so. I think some games do really well with a shadow drop, especially on a day like this. There's nothing else that's out there that people are really
But
looking
it's a
forward to
Tuesday,
apart
bro.
from yeah, but apart from Clear Obscura, but like it's really just a silent day. There's no big game out that's really, making noise. So for them to drop this, every guy who I know, at least on my WhatsApp or Discord, and gamers, they're talking about this game. And if this game had come out maybe near Shadows, near Monster Hunter, this wouldn't be happening. But because I think the space makes a lot of sense for it to drop at this time. Now the question is, was this good? Should they have planned it properly. I don't know. I don't think we'll ever know that answer. But 87,000 says that gamers are aware of this product, and it seems like it's going to be another hit. What did interest me is that even if they're going to do a shadow drop, could they have sent it to people, reviewers like IGN, GameSpot, to review it so everyone can get a review of it? I think this way is better. I think this way even they have to play it now, and I think we're all involved in the communication aspect into the review aspect of it. And now you're really relying on people's Steam reviews. To let you know if it's a good product. But maybe you're not even actually really, sorry, I'm just going to tangent out, because you're not really you're not really relying on the Steam reviews, because you're probably just going to purchase it yourself and just see what it's all about.
Mm. All right. I'm so surprised at 87K. That's crazy. That's crazy, because today is a Tuesday, guys. I know a lot of people forget, because some of us, we are part of the hardcore gamers. But yeah, 87,000 on Tuesday is not normal. Those are like Baldur's Gate numbers. That's crazy. Obviously not total, but I'm talking about on a random Tuesday, 87K. That's crazy. Fuzzy says Mass Effect Legendary Edition did have gameplay improvements and changes to the progression system. Yeah, that's why they didn't call it a remake. Sorry, a remaster. Exactly, Rachie. This is on a weekday. It would have been nice to put it off another week. Let Claire Obscure have its time, but Claire will survive if it's as good as it looks. Eye for an eye. I'm purposefully skipping. I'm purposely skipping this game because I want to play Clay Obscure, and this feels like one of those games that it's probably going to take 60 hours, and I don't have 60 hours right now. Fatal Fury is out today. Oof, enjoy Ron Slasher, but I don't think a lot of people are going to be on that one. Game Pass users playing. Does Game Pass users count for Steam? Oshers.
No, they don't. So
Yeah, from what I know,
these
you
are
have to
just the
buy it.
people that actually bought the game. That means that
Yeah,
Microsoft made its money off all the Steam sales, that all the people that bought on Steam versus Game Pass.
yeah. Anyway, Oshers, what do you think of Oblivion? The
This looks
remake.
amazing. I watched it on Cult Classic Cage's channel when she was responding to it on my way back from work, and it looks incredible. This looks exactly, or not exactly, but this is what I expected in terms of like fidelity or graphical fidelity from a brand new game like Avowed. This is where the budget went. This is where you can see all the money is on the screen. And to me, it's so evident. Everybody can tell that this is a high quality product, from the textures to the gameplay, and of course, it's built on the bones of probably one of the greatest RPGs on PC ever released. And I'm not surprised. I'm expecting it to, by the end of tonight, to surpass 100,000 players. This is the power of
100.
100,000. Yes. This is the
Ah,
power of Bethesda. Bethesda is this good. They are capable of doing this. This is why you buy Bethesda for 8.9 billion, because they can change their games. Literally, can change the tide of whatever is happening. This game is going to be trending for the next 6 months in terms of like the excitement and what it means to people. This is probably going to go on,
memes.
and
So many
um,
memes.
yeah, but like this is going to go on, in my opinion, to do better than Skyrim in terms of people coming back to this experience. The only thing that I would have done maybe differently as Xbox is what Taye was hinting on. Again, zero marketing from Xbox really for something so significant. They should have made this like a month-long event type of thing. They've got the money to do it, to push this. They could have gotten 200,000 people playing this if people had known ahead of time that it was coming out today. I think this low number that you're saying, which is about 80, probably finish around 100, is because of the fact that almost no one knew that the Bethesda game that everybody's been waiting for since Skyrim just came out. Nobody ever saw this coming.
Ushers, to your point, that I think is important is that it's also Unreal Engine, correct?
So
Yeah.
this is where the trickery comes in. So the graphics and the visuals are running on Unreal Engine, but the skeleton of it, like the AI and everything, is still the creation engine. So it's a combination of like all the improved textures, the face. Let me say the facelift, what you're seeing, is all Unreal Engine, but the bones are all this. If you go skin deep and you check the gameplay and everything, it's still being built on the creation engine. So it's probably running on some version of the engine that you have in Starfield currently.
And also to Reichi's point, this game proves something to all the Unreal Engine haters. Unreal can make RPGs. I hope, and this is like a little side note that I had for us to discuss here. Do you guys think it would be sacrilegious to say that Bethesda should look at how Oblivion remake is received, right? And take that forward in terms of use the creation engine for the heart of the game. But in terms of looks, etc., go with Unreal because the creation engine it has reached its limit.
Um, so again, like the problem with Unreal Engine right now is that it's a very problematic engine, especially on PC. It's
God,
very poorly optimized.
sorry, sorry,
Um,
Ushers. Sorry,
yeah,
Ushers. God
no,
damn.
that's fine.
Big Mad Bone says, "Go play PlayStation since you know what they got covered." I think that was for you, Ushers.
I love you too, Mo.
Go on, go ahead. Finish
Yeah.
your point on the whole engine thing.
No, no, I was just saying that
Oh,
like it's a very heavy engine currently, and like the problem with it is like all these like super advanced like ray tracing things that everybody thought was gonna like revolutionize the game. It's actually really, 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 I would say, putting a very unnecessary weight on that engine. As a result, the games are heavy. They demand a lot. Like for instance, Indiana Jones, great looking game, but it also demands a lot from that engine. No, but like, is that no? That's ray tracing, but I don't think it's running on Unreal 5, is it? I'll have
it's
to double
fine.
check. But
It's
is
UE5.
it? But the
It's
thing is
UE5.
with so, but the thing is with who's this with Bethesda? They have this thing where they can combine because it's not just running on Unreal Engine 5. There's still a part of that that is ID Tech, which is the technology that powers Doom. So we'll see when Gears comes. When Gears comes out, maybe we'll finally have a fully optimized game that runs the way it should day one on Unreal Engine 5. But right now, Unreal Engine 5 has been the headache for most PC gamers. It's a little bit better modified for console because of the fact that console really has like one size fits all sort of approach. So um, the games tend to be a little bit better optimized on console. But I don't think, personally, I think like the creation engine is outdated, yes, and they should move on from it. But I'm wondering if Unreal Engine is the best engine going forward.
You
I
know,
think one point that they've mentioned is that even if you were to switch to Unreal, like there's just you're gonna make so many changes and amendments to the engine that it becomes a question of is it even really worth it at that point? Because
Yeah,
now it has to just look like basically the creation engine, and obviously the main problem you're gonna have is speciality. Everyone's used to making using the creation engine. They know how it works,
mm,
so you can get games out faster. You can get your Skyrim sorry, not your Skyrim, your Elder Scrolls 6 out much faster if you were to just use the creation engine and you just keep adapting or improving the creation engine. Something like an Unreal will take longer. Number one, and number two, I think everyone says that the problem with Unreal is that it breaks a lot with open world games. And Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be a very, very interactive open world game. It's probably easy to
mm,
do with a game like, like a remaster like Oblivion because it's old school, the foundation is already in place.
yeah, no, that's
Uh,
true.
but something built from the ground up, I think Bethesda's gonna have a tough time with that. At some point, they might need to make the change, but also there's just a question of let's just invest more in the creation engine. Let's make it a better product, and that might be just be enough.
I'll say this though. I mean, Microsoft seems to be positioning themselves to be the Unreal Engine studio, and I think that's a very smart decision. If they can move everyone to, again, this can work, and this can also be a huge failure. If they can move all their studios to Unreal Engine 5, then it makes supporting the different studios, making the different games much easier. You have more resources, to your point, to split around because people are familiar with the ins and the outs of that engine. The problem with the engine, like the Creation Engine, dude, like I feel that you need to really update that engine because I really feel that it was one of the weakest parts from Starfield in terms of graphically.
Yes.
If you look at the
Yes.
graphics from this game, they look next gen. Compare like a render from Oblivion to a render from Starfield. It's day and night in terms of
I mean, Starfield does look nice. It looks nice,
it
but it
looks
just
okay.
doesn't
Yeah,
look. It doesn't look cutting edge,
it
which is what
doesn't
you
look
kind of
next gen, in my
expected.
opinion.
Yeah, which is what you would have expected from
Hmm.
you know Bethesda's
This looks
new
next.
franchise.
If they had announced this, and let's say they released this like in the early days of the console, let's say they released this, maybe the time let's say that they swapped this around for Starfield, and it looked the way it does, people would have been, their minds would have been blown away. Nobody would have had like a question in terms of like the graphical quality of what the game is presenting.
Yeah, yeah. The timing was kind of off.
A point that you mentioned, Oshus, about the how Bethesda games can um, grab attention and pull and push people into obviously services. So if Xbox had made all these games exclusives, and people would be very much interested and probably purchase an Xbox. I think in in an alternate timeline, yes, that's very very true. But for that to work, I think Bethesda would have needed to have a lot of games in development. Starfield would have started development probably years before it started development, so it should have came out earlier. I would
Hmm.
say this remaster right here should have been in development years ago, so it would have dropped earlier as
Hmm.
well. And even I would even say Xbox should have purchased Bethesda um, right before Fallout 4 came out, and they should have just made that exclusive. If you make Fallout 4 exclusive to the Xbox One, and you make Fallout 76, multi-platform, and you start to manage Bethesda a little bit better. So you start to, nip things in the bud like Redfall. You start to manage Tango a little bit better. I think you end up in a situation, and then you get Deadfall. Not Deadfall. You get the game with the black protagonist. Sorry,
Blade.
Redfall.
No, the black
Wait,
protagonist.
is it not Blade? Dishonored.
Not Dishonored.
Compulsion's game.
No, Arcane.
Oh.
Arcane made. Cult. The one with
Yeah,
the guy
but
called Cult.
I know what
Oh,
you're
the
talking
time
about.
manipulation one.
Yeah, exactly. As soon as
Oh, the one that was
damn.
exclusive to PS4 for the
yeah,
first
if
year.
you to utilize
PS5, sorry.
Bethesda in the way that I
Guys,
think
it's
would
sad
have
we can't
shifted-
remember the name of that game. Jesus. That's
Deathloop,
bad.
Deathloop, my bad. Yeah,
That is
Deathloop, yeah.
bad.
yeah.
I
That
couldn't
is
get
so
into
bad.
that game for the life of me, so it makes
True,
sense why
but I
it was
think
so
the
unmemorable.
fact that they scored so high and if it came out like around the same time, I think that's when Bethesda really becomes useful. Xbox, as much as they've made some missteps here and there, they are also a victim of unluckiness. I think they have been quite unlucky in a lot of regards. Because if they had a little bit more luck their way, I think there's more of a shift in the console space. But unfortunately, Starfield was pushed back way too much. Sony money hatted those Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo, Fallout 4. Xbox decided to start purchasing these big studios, these big publishers, way too late in the game. They should have done it earlier. And even all the smaller studios, I mean, you should have either
So-
purchased them earlier, or you should have started purchasing maybe bigger studios. And I think one of the biggest misses even is because I remember this so well when The Witcher 2 came out on Xbox, because it didn't come out on PlayStation. It was just
It was
Xbox.
exclusive to 360, yeah.
I was thinking, oh, buy them. That makes sense because these guys are dope. Like they can make a good game. I'm sure The Witcher 3 is going to be
100%.
amazing. I remember telling my friends that The Witcher, whenever The Witcher 3 comes out, it's going to be something special. because these guys are talented. And the next game they make, which I know will be in Cyberpunk, is going to be something special. So purchase them now. Like I think if they made all these moves
Can you
faster,
imagine if Cyberpunk
earlier,
was Xbox only?
yeah,
Jesus.
and
Yeah, this
well,
is the timeline.
yeah, this is the
Well,
timeline
Well, it
where
wouldn't
I
be
think
Xbox only. It wouldn't be Xbox only.
Xbox and
So my
PC.
thing is,
And this is where I disagree with you, Ty. I don't think Xbox is unlucky. I don't. It's one of the few things that I always make fun of Oshus on when I want to, have fun and just be
and be
messy,
spiteful.
right? And be spiteful. I make fun of Oshus, but he does have a point here. The problem is all the pivoting. Like pivots are nice in basketball. If you're a basketball player, it's beautiful when you pivot. But as a company, it's not great, especially in the gaming industry where things like public sentiment are so fickle. You need to move very slowly and be boring, because if you're boring and steady and everyone knows what you're about, people know where to put their money. Like, and no one has any doubts. Anyone that owns a PlayStation, most of the people that own a PlayStation don't have doubts about what they're going to do when the PS6 is announced. And that is partly due to PlayStation being like, hey man, you guys hate us or people meme on us and whatever, but this is our philosophy and we're not going to shy away from it anytime soon. And it does feel like with Xbox, it's like standing on quicksand.
Yeah.
In a way it's good, right? In a way it's good because always getting fresh stuff in a way, but in another way it's terrible because then it's like, I don't know if it's even worth investing in this, you know? Whereas even the people that are going to buy the Nintendo Switch 2, hey man, we all agree it's a bad deal. But because Nintendo has created this quote unquote firm ground for players to count on, they're going to invest in it. Whereas with Xbox, all this flip flopping and jumping from this idea to the next idea to the next to the next to the next, yes, innovation does work that way, but there needs to be a balance somewhere. And I feel like they've missed on that, Ty.
I agree.
Ty,
Mhm.
that was for you specifically.
I'm just taking that in for a second. I'm trying to see if I agree
Damn,
or not.
I got this man speechless. All right, let's go to the comment section. Welcome in, Fark. What's this? Big Mad Mo says Xbox is held to a higher standard than others. Yeah, yeah, it is. It is held to a higher standard, Mo, because there's less people there, and they're trying to get people to go there, right? So that's why people use the example of like when you get married, you stop getting BJs. Why? Because she already got you, so she doesn't have to do much work compared to when she was dating you. Do you know what I mean? So Xbox has to work harder and is scrutinized much more harshly, because then people are trying to look for a reason to be like, I convince me to drop my Switch so I can drop $500 and I don't know how many more dollars to buy an Xbox. Convince me. It's gonna be harder. The same thing for PlayStation, you know? So yeah. Fuck, welcome in, says just arrived. I guess this shadow drop got some negativity from one or more panel members. Just Oshus, bro. Oshus is the only person that will see an Oblivion drop and find a way to say it's a bad thing.
That's
Mo
not
says put your money into Game Pass. If you're a gamer and like games, Game Pass is a no-brainer. No doubt, Big Man Mo. No doubt. I agree on that one. People aren't exactly thrilled with PlayStation this gen either. They just got that unbeatable brand power, so their consoles will always sell. Why do they have that unbeatable brand power? Brand power doesn't just appear, Fuzzy,
Yeah. True.
because they didn't have it
Right.
with the PS3. They didn't have this unbeatable aura. What happened? What happened with the PS4 and the Xbox One, Fuzzy? Don't just skip to the end credits and be like, of course Iron Man had the stones at the end. No, there's a whole story before we get to the end. Richie says Nintendo is a dynasty, Sony is a conditional monarchy, Xbox is a democracy with all the flip flop. Yo, we do not advocate for eliminating democracy on TSWS. What the hell, Reggie? God damn it. Ron Slasher says Xbox is basically Oxford. That one's for you, Oshes. I know you know that's for you. Big
What's
Man Mo
that?
says Ron Slasher said Xbox is basically Oxford. Remember that day that we were talking about something, then you suddenly wanted to go to Harvard,
Oh,
then you wanted
yeah.
to go to Oxford. Yeah.
Okay, that's
Big
a
Bad
deep
Mo
cut.
says, yeah, it's a deep. You need to know the TSWS law at this point. Like we're getting to the point, fellas, where you need to have watched previous episodes to understand what's happening. Mo says, listen, just buy the games and keep funding my Game Pass. Hey, man, like we just said, it's at 87K on Steam alone. We haven't even got into PlayStation. We haven't gone into the sales on Xbox themselves, and Steam is not all of PC gaming. So this one's gonna do numbers in terms of sales. I for an I, PS2 and PS4 were the best gens. The rest were average. The problem, I for an I. Oh my god, did you just say the PS1 was average? You know what? I'm not even going to respond to that. I'm not even going to respond to that. No, I'm not. And pay for not owning games. Yeah, man. Same way I don't own the gym where I work out. It just is what it is. Games not on discs. My guy, Seawolf, come on, bro. You don't make rookie errors like this. You don't. You know that 90% of games that come out on discs today don't even have the full games on them. You have to download a whole bunch of stuff. Come on, my guy. Come on, Seawolf. Ty,
What's up?
do you now have it together, or do you elect not to respond to my little
No, I think I agree overall. You know, yeah, no, I agree. I agree overall. No
okay.
pushback.
All right. Fuzzy says even in the PS3 gen where Sony completely failed, they still ended up selling as well as 360. That's the brand power. No, you see, again, Fuzzy, you're jumping to the end credits. Again, Fuzzy. Again, tell the whole story. In the end, they sold as much as a 360, yes, but 360 had a gigantic lead because they had a better entry price. Sony then adjusted their price, right? Brought the price down. And then the 360 also had a bunch of exclusives, third-party exclusives right at the beginning of the gen. They lost the momentum close to the end. I don't know if that was Peter Moore leaving. I don't know if he left by then or not. I don't know. Point is, they lost the juice by the end. And then with the PS4 came and killed everything, right? This is how you share games. And then the guy just handed it to the next dude. Thanks. I mean, yeah.
I think the
Uh
an issue here that I see is that some people forget that in order to win a console generation or console war, um, it's not just about, well, we're doing good. You need your opponent to fuck up like really bad as well, because that brand name, as Fuzzy is saying, is important. When Nintendo was going up against Sega, they still won with the NES against Sega Mega Drive because Nintendo has still had great games, right? They had Square Enix, they had all these guys moving towards them. It was when the N64 came out that there was just multiple missteps there, and Sony came in with something new as well. And that's what really hurt Nintendo there for N64. When the GameCube came as well, it wasn't just that the GameCube was necessarily better than the PS. So it wasn't that the GameCube was like on par. People thought the PS2 had better games. You had Metal Gear Solid, you had all these, you had Final Fantasy, whereas the GameCube was getting things like Crystal Chronicles. Um, so you really need to be better. So when Xbox says, okay, with the Xbox Series X and S, we're going to try and take down Sony, Sony can mess up, but they have that brand loyalty that's going to allow them to kind of mitigate that damage. And then from just a strictly head-to-head point of view, Sony has had more system selling titles like God of War, Horizon, Spider-Man 2,
Ghost of
Ghost
Tsushima.
of Tsushima. They've just had more this generation, and in terms of just efficiency, power for power,
Consistency.
consistency, Sony has been better. So the only way Microsoft actually wins is not just even if Xbox was perfect, they wouldn't win this gen because Sony is doing well enough that they're mitigating whatever Xbox can do, and they've done a really good job because till this day, them looking at Bethesda, like Sony doesn't have to get Deadloop or Ghostwire Tokyo as an exclusive. They know most people who are going to buy that game is going to be on PlayStation, but their goal is to make Xbox look as incompetent as much as possible, and they do a good job at doing that. So they time exclusive all these games, and and then when Game Pass does good numbers, whatever it is, they don't really care because they know Game Pass doesn't sell consoles. So I think as much as people want to shit on Jim Ryan, he is a good businessman, and he's made Xbox look weak enough that nobody cared, weak enough that they could increase the price of video games and increase the console price of the PlayStation, and in the same year Xbox stays the same, Sony still outsells them because they've
So,
merged their
so now that you bring
aggressiveness with
price,
Xbox incompetency.
into the conversation, let's talk about it. This game is selling for $50. About a month ago, Nintendo said that their premium, quote unquote, titles will be coming out for $80 to $90.
I
Do you guys
mean,
think? Do you guys think? Hold on. Do you guys think? Okay, Ushers, you can go first. Do you think that this specific price for Oblivion is an aberration because it's a remake or remaster, or do you think Xbox is going to maintain the 60 the 60 and $50 price models moving forward in this generation?
so the answer to your first question is like if I look at this game and I think, this is what, $50. How much is
Mm-hmm.
Nintendo charging me for is it 8-year-old game? How old is Breath of the Wild? To get the update for Breath of the Wild plus the game, you pay
Mm-hmm.
80. Like they're charging you $80 for an 8-year-old game with frame rate improvements.
Without the DLC.
With just the improvements that you get. I think you pay they're charging you for the game and then they're charging you for the improvements. But I know that the total price for Breath of the Wild when you buy it on Switch 2 is going to be $80.
Good times. Good times.
And then you look at this is where like I say Microsoft had a good thing. Like this whole sort of thing, like this dream they sold us with Game Pass was so perfect because it made sense for you, the consumer. It's the most consumer friendly thing that has ever been introduced in gaming history. There is nothing that matches the value of Game Pass. Like
Oh my
like
god.
it's never been
Say
like
that again, Oshus.
historically.
I think I
No, there
just
is
got
nothing.
hard. Say that one more time.
Okay, I'm not gonna say it. It's just for that reason.
Hold on, let me get some oil. Hold on. Water-based
No,
oil lubricant. Hold on. Daireezy, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Really appreciate it. Daireezy says Doom in Game Pass, Expedition 33 in Game Pass, Avowed in Game Pass, South of Midnight in Game Pass,
mm,
Oblivion in Game Pass, good googly moogly. It's
I know.
it's a bit much. Like even let's be honest, guys, even if we were all millionaires, didn't have day jobs, and we just had to play video games and raise our families, we would struggle to keep up with just Game Pass. Can we agree
Mm,
on that?
agreed. It's too much. Like it's too much. Who says this? Jensen, the guy from Nvidia. It's too much. It's way too much. Like,
That's what she said. Anyways,
yeah.
continue telling us why Game Pass is the best value in gaming, Oshus.
And again, like as a customer, as a person who buys games, for me, Game Pass has allowed me to buy games I would never buy before because of the money I save of using Game Pass. Like, I can give you
And the
110.
experimentation. And the
Yes, like
experimentation, Oshus. I never would have
yes.
tried
Oh,
Yakuza without Game Pass.
100%. Like, there's a lot of games that I've finished just for gamer score, like smaller games, and I enjoyed like Annapurna games. I would have never touched Annapurna games like with a 10-foot pole, but like I enjoyed so many of them, and I actually got some nice achievements from them as well. But like all this is because of Game Pass. All this, the Game Pass has made this possible. I just wish that they were able to sell hardware using Game Pass because my biggest red lights when it comes to Xbox is this step away from hardware. I don't think it's good for the industry. I think it makes for a worse Sony, it makes for a worse Nintendo because the guys that have the biggest wallet are no longer competing. So everyone can relax and take it easy and sort of do whatever they want. And the problem with customer sentiment is the fact that it's gonna take a while before people say fuck Sony or fuck Nintendo. Like everyone is
Who
gonna go
tells
buy
you?
this.
Wait. Who told you that they're giving up on hardware?
I think everything that they've done indicates that they're giving up on hardware.
I need you to be specific, bro, because you're making accusations, right? For a company that spent close
Well,
to a
okay, first of
hundred
all,
billion in the
yeah,
last 4 or 5 years. No one spends almost 100 billion
not on
to
hardware, on
leave.
software. They didn't spend
Regardless.
100 billion on hardware.
Dude,
Like
okay,
they
how much did PlayStation spend on their hardware? You don't fucking know. Don't nobody know how much they spent to make the Switch 2?
well, all
Come
I
on,
can
bro.
tell you is that if you look at like the amount, like how the hardware has tanked over the last year, 2 years, it makes no sense why you would want to double down on investment on something like a Series S. Like that is there's no like there's no plan here where Xbox walks away from this. And why would you do that as a business? You're Microsoft. Why would you be bleeding sales and still wanting to back hardware when your software just moves off the shelf? Like when you can put a game
Ham
on
says
Steam
it
and
all the
sell.
fucking time. Excuse my
Yeah.
French. Ham says it all the time. Oshus, how many people do you know own a Microsoft Surface? How many people do you personally know?
Not as many as they that own what you call it, for instance, a MacBook or an
I don't
iPad.
know anyone that owns a Surface. And those things haven't been selling for decades. Well, not selling compared to like their Samsung counterparts or their Apple counterparts, but they still selling. Come on, Oshus.
No,
I'm
like
with the chat
look,
right now. Oshus is
marginally.
capping. He doesn't
No,
have
like
Game
dude,
Pass.
like
We
go
can
look at the
we can't
margins. Go
believe an
look at the
Xbox
margins
hater.
on that. I don't think so. Like I honestly don't think they have because look at everyone that has stake in hardware and look at the moves that they're making and look at compare that to the hardware that they're selling. Compare it to like Xbox's strategy currently right now. Why would they keep continue to double that? Because they can go show profit margins for the Surface because they're not competing directly against Apple. They're competing against everyone that else that makes a PC variant of that specific thing, and it still doesn't sell amazingly. But I'm just saying, in console gaming, like that thing doesn't need. When you make like a Surface Pro or any of those things don't need software to support it.
All right, I'm not trying to make this a Loke versus Oshus
But
episode.
but but yeah.
Ty,
But
what are your
all my
thoughts?
things, yeah.
On
Hold
what
on,
Usher
maybe
said,
Ty
yeah, I
agrees
agree.
with you.
I think Xbox is not going. They're not really focusing on hardware as much. Well, I mean, it's tricky. They're not focusing on the
Are
traditional
they
hardware,
giving
right?
up? Are they giving up on hardware? Because that's specifically what he said.
Um, the answer leans towards more yes than no. And I think
Okay,
it's a
I guess I'm
nuanced
wrong then.
discussion. Well, it's nuanced because first of all, we know they're making a next gen console, so that's number one. Number
We don't
two,
know. Oshus just said they're giving up, bro.
no. Washus is wrong. There's a next gen console coming out, but that console is going to be PC focused. Now the
But
question
like,
is,
is it a console or is it a PC? We had an
well,
entire
it's a
like
PC,
debate. Exactly my point. So they're
but
not gonna be
that's
making
still
more
hardware
console
though.
hardware. They're
So
making
this
so
PC
making
is
it.
going to be software. It's going to be something in our minds that we see. That's what you're proposing, Oshus. It's not going to be real. We
It's
won't be able to
hardware. It
touch
has
it
to be
because the
hardware.
definition of hardware, right? The definition of hardware is that it is something tangible,
Okay,
physical.
so then let me put it this way: they're not focused on selling console hardware. Maybe then that distinguishes my point. Like, they're not gonna make any more consoles in the vein of a Series S or a Series X. You can forget that. If you're saying that they're gonna make PCs, then good luck to them. They've failed to make PCs for generations.
But
But
you see,
if you're
but
saying that's where they're
even
going, that's
the
fine.
console argument is like, if Jack and Mary buys the next Xbox console, or sorry, the next Xbox PC, and in their minds, it feels like an Xbox, looks like an Xbox, but it's actually a PC, then it wouldn't really matter, right? Is it because all that matters is the OS. Like the guys who I speak to who are Xbox fans, when we talk about the Xbox's next gen PC, they also do the exact same thing. Listen, as long as I press that button and it boots up into something that looks like an Xbox store and it looks like an Xbox, I don't care what's actually under the hood. I will never go into the default Windows section. In the same way, how if you press a couple of buttons, you can probably go into the Xbox Series S, computer mode where you can emulate games, all that kind of stuff. They know it
Yeah, you
exists.
do
They just
that.
don't care about it, right? So as long as it looks and plays like an Xbox, then it's an Xbox as far as they're concerned. I mean,
Okay.
like
So they drank.
another example would be even the Switch. Like, what is the Switch? Is it a console? Is it a handheld? Like, who cares? I plugged it into the little box, and it shows up on my TV. Therefore, it's a console to me. And when I take it out of that bin, it's a handheld to me. Nobody cares what's the insides are saying. The question is, does it function and look like a console or a handheld? And if it does, then by default, it's a handheld. Like my friend who I was having this discussion with, he's not a casual gamer, but like he plays games, but he doesn't know about the details or whatever. Yeah, he thinks the ROG Ally is a handheld in the same way the Nintendo Switch, the PSP, and the DS is a handheld. I was like, it's a
What?
PC. He's like, no, it's a handheld. I'm like, no, it's a PC. And then I show him like, yo, this is Windows. It's like, oh, it is a PC. Like nobody knows about these things. If you were to hide
Okay.
the ROG Ally Windows part of it, it would be a handheld, like in the traditional sense.
But what happens? What happens when I can run PC on your Switch? Does it stop being a Switch?
Like you see, yeah, these are the discussions that like I almost feel like they don't even matter because
Yeah.
I was reading about like the Switch, and it was Nvidia who made a couple of handhelds, and Nintendo liked the devices because Nvidia wasn't selling them, and the question was, could those handhelds run Windows? And they're like, well, there's a different version, like an upgraded version of those handhelds that could potentially run Windows. So the Switch technically could run a probably shitty version of Windows if you programmed for it. Does that make the Switch now a PC?
I mean,
I think that one's for Oshus, not me.
You could run Windows on Xbox, but it doesn't make it a PC. All I'm saying is, like, my distinction is very simple. The moment you're saying you're making a PC box that functions like a PC, that does all the things that a PC does, first of all, the first thing I think of is like, geez, I wonder how you're gonna keep costs down. Like, there's so many, like, and I even shared with you the AI responses to what are all the obstacles involved in creating that. If they can pass all those things and do that, then good for them. But they're still not selling you a console. They're selling you a Microsoft PC with a handheld. And again, this is all
This is a
speculation. This
fun.
is all things that they've sort of like put out there. They've not given us, we don't have a definitive thing to say, well, this is what they're making, so we can
Yeah,
base the
yeah,
argument.
yeah.
What we do know is that if we look at their focus in terms of like marketing their hardware and making sure that their hardware sells based on the software that they're putting out, they've completely abandoned that strategy. Otherwise, they would have marketed something like this with the Series X and the S in mind, because that will definitely move hardware. Look at how much it's doing on Steam.
Oh God, are we
Imagine
going
if
back to the
it's
exclusive talk?
100%. Imagine if
Are we going
100%
back to the
of those
exclusive talk?
people were buying it on an Xbox console. Everybody
Oshers,
would go out and go get the console for that game. Simple
are
as
we
that.
back to
It's
problem
not
is
exclusive
rocket.
talk?
Yes, because it works, dude. It's a formula that works. This is not
the
We're back.
something that we're tossing, like we're throwing things against the board and seeing what sticks. It's always worked.
Ushers is right
That's
that
the
it does
point.
work, but the problem is it only works when you're consistent in doing it, and when your rival PlayStation is dropping the ball big time. Problem is PlayStation isn't dropping the ball. That's number one, and number two, it's just not consistent. Like for
But wait,
Bethesda would have had to be bringing out Starfield would have had to come out probably 2 years before. This game would have had to come out probably a year before. Fallout 4 probably would have had to be an exclusive. A Fallout 4 remake should be coming out this year instead of Oblivion remake. Like there is
would
so much that they needed to get from Bethesda for that to happen. And then you need
okay.
the additional stuff as well. So maybe even a game like Final Fantasy would have to be as an exclusive. Like there's just so many things that they need to go their way for this to work. So I agree with everything you're saying 100%. But it's kind of like Game Pass, right? Game Pass doesn't work if you're just giving the consumers one big game a year and maybe some small indies here and there. That's why when Strauss Zelnick says Game Pass doesn't work for us, it's like, yeah, of course it doesn't work for you guys. You guys don't release games at all. You release a couple of games here and there, and your main focus is GTA. So of course, a subscription service with GTA and WWE 2K isn't going to sustain a Game Pass large audience. Now Ubisoft can do it because they make a lot of games. That's why they're doing it.
Mhm,
EA can do it because they make a lot of games. That's why they're doing
mhm,
it. So when people say like, "Well," I'm like, "No, shut up." The people who can do it is literally big publishers who have a diversification of products,
All
right?
right, all right, guys. Let me go to the comment section, and then I want your final points on this Oblivion thing, and then we need to get to the Nintendo versus PlayStation conversation. All right. I understand that Oblivion was exceptional. It was way more than what we expected that they were going to give us, but we need to at least give the Nintendo versus PlayStation conversation 5 minutes. Even if it's 5 minutes, then we get back to this. It's fine, but we have to give it some oxygen. I for an I says I will always have a console. I like to have one to play on a big TV and lay in bed and game. That is it. I don't always feel like sitting at my desk the whole day. I use my Xbox as much as my PC. Eye for an eye, everything you just described that you want to do with a console, you can do with a PC. I hate to burst your bubble, but you can do the exact same thing on a PC. Dairies, he says, Ty, don't follow Oshus. He's just trying to get his daily dub over Xbox. He has a quota. He has a daily quota to
that's
fill.
funny. I do actually. I have a list and I tick it twice.
Oh my god. All right. Oshus, final point on Oblivion.
Yeah, man. Like I'm downloading it right now, so I'm going to be playing this. This is probably because the one thing that's always kept me from Oblivion is those ass graphics from fucking PS 360 era. Like I could never like
Yeah.
get past how ugly that game looked. This is every reason. There's no excuse for me not to get into this now because it does everything I've ever wanted. I've always wanted a nice, shiny new Skyrim-ish RPG because I loved Skyrim so much and it took me by surprise. If Oblivion can serve or fill the same spot, man, I can see myself playing this game for 6 months. In fact, I'll probably buy it like a little bit deeper in sale. I'm gonna play
My
it on
god,
Game
it's
Pass.
already $50, Oshus.
I'm a cheap ass, so I'm a
we
brokey. I'm a
oh
brokey as
we're
the
we're
kids
we are
that
cheap
pay
asses.
eighty
That's
dollars.
what you want
Yeah,
to say. We are cheap
yeah. I live
asses.
in a third world country, dude. Like, of course,
You know what,
I need to
dude?
save all the money.
That's my next excuse. I'm stealing that, Oshus. Anytime anyone is like, dude, why are you always waiting for sales? I'll just be like, yeah, I live in a third world country. What the fuck? And
We're waiting. Yeah,
USA left. You know, they kept all the lights on. So
exactly,
yeah.
exactly. And tariffs,
And
and we're getting
tariffs.
tariffs left, right, and center.
Yeah,
So what are we supposed to do, huh?
yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
So is that all you have to say about Oblivion
no,
before we
no,
move
that's
on?
it, dude. Like this is a huge W for Microsoft. Well done. Phil Spencer should. I really hope he's feeling better because he wasn't looking so good a while back. I really hope this sort of puts that glow, that 2015 glow, back in his face.
That 2015 glow. Phil has aged
Phil
quite
used
a
to be
bit.
a
Yeah.
snack. Go look at all the pictures of Phil, bro. He
Yeah.
looked like an exec from like a movie set.
To
Up
be fair,
until
it's
they
been to be fair, it's been 10 years. It's been 10 years.
no, up until
Ty.
they made him head of Xbox.
Oh God, stop it. Ty, a final point.
Yeah, I'll say, listen, I think Bethesda's feeling good. I think Xbox fans should be feeling good. Bethesda fans should be feeling good, and even PlayStation fans. Anyone like it's the new games. I think the gaming community as a whole should be feeling good about like another remake of a game or remaster, whatever people want to call it, but a remaster of a game that looks to be really well done. Um, in terms of Phil, I think I don't know if any of these kind of successes makes him feel good anymore. They might have back in the day, but now that Microsoft is on his ass, they don't care if this reviews well, metacritically wise or whatever it is. The question is, at the end of the year, what is our profit margins? Has Game Pass grown? What's happening here? And if he can point to like, well, everyone was happy with the new remake, Satcha's gonna say, I'm here for the money. I'm not here for like these gamers' feelings. And now you're answering to me because the gamers don't really mean shit at this point, right?
Mm.
So yeah, I don't know if it's gonna feel great. I think because the last year's profit margins, the last year's annual report didn't look good. I was actually quite surprised, especially with Call of Duty, didn't look great at all. So
Yeah.
there's probably pressure on him a lot, and maybe that's why he looks so disheveled sometimes. But listen, that's our shareholder talk. For us, I think for me, you, and everyone else in this chat room, in this chat, this is great. Like the game looks really, really good. I don't think anyone can deny that, and it clearly plays better than the previous Oblivion. So yeah, it's a W all around.
Yeah. It definitely looks like an awesome time to be a Oblivion fan, an Xbox fan. Y'all are in for a
RPG
good
fan as
one.
well.
A what?
RPG fan as well.
Oh my God, dude! It feels like RPGs. Last 10 years. Last
Mhm.
10 years, RPGs have been like killing
Yeah,
it or
because that
having a
means
good
this year
time.
we've had Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, we've had Monster Hunter, and we've had Assassin's Creed Shadows, and we've had Atom Fall, and now we're having this, and then in a few
Mm.
weeks or a couple of days we're gonna have Clear Obscure.
Yep. Two
Um,
days.
2 days we're gonna have Clear Obscure. Like I mean, you have that Vowed as well. Having Outer Worlds 2 coming out. Like this is. I mean, these are all top quality or at worst is a good enough games, and at best they're great games. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good 2025 for RPG fans or adventure fans.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mind you, this is a genre that they tried to convince us like 10 years ago was dead and
Yes.
buried, and then
No
they
one
and
wants to
single
play
player games.
their RPG fantasy games.
Exactly. Like
Okay.
it's probably the biggest genre right now in terms of like single player. Uh, I'd say specifically on PC. I think a lot of people are playing single player RPG type games, whether it's Souls like games, whether it's your Oblivions, whether it's your Baldur's Gates. This is the genre that everyone wants to be part of. And again, like you can never listen to corporates, man. Like they will tell you whatever they want or they think that you want to hear at the time, and they'll sell you that. They tried to sell us that like multiplayer games are the future, which was false. Everyone, I think there was a survey done. I saw this on X, but I just didn't care. I didn't take the link down to say that there was a study done that found that most players prefer single player games. Period.
Damn.
The only disagreement there is they had some data to really back it up. Like the biggest games in the world are all multiplayer games. Minecraft is multiplayer, Fortnite is multiplayer, Call of Duty is multiplayer. Like everyone's like gravitating towards multiplayer games. One of the best games of this year so far, well, if you want to say two games, is Monster Hunter World. Sorry, Monster Hunter and Wilds, which is multiplayer, and Split Fiction
Marvel.
2, which is multiplayer. So I don't think they're actually incorrect with that statement. I think people like single player games and
I
they like
think Split
multiplayer
Fiction
games.
is kind of a hybrid of multiplayer. It's not like, eh, it's not like
No,
Marvel
no,
Rivals or
it's
It's
Overwatch.
multiplayer.
couch co-op, so it's single player in my opinion. I
No
would
way, it's
because
multiplayer.
that
No,
you
multiplayer.
playing it, dude, on your living room with the person sitting right next to you.
No, it's multiplayer. No, you can play online as well. It's multiplayer.
Okay, I suppose.
In fact, I would say Split Fiction is probably the worst kind of game, right? Because it's exclusively multiplayer. You can't play by yourself. You need someone to play with. At least with like all these other games, you can play by yourself. You can do solo games, right? You can play Monster Hunter by yourself, right? So at least Capcom is saying, no, single player is a foundation, and then you can play with your friends. Split Fiction is saying, nah, just multiplayer, bruh. And that game sold crazy numbers.
Yeah, so here's like the recent survey I'm talking about. I just asked Google AI Gemini, and it pulls up the survey instantly. It says 53% of gamers prefer single player games. This preference is particularly strong amongst older gamers, with 74% of those 55 choosing single player titles. In contrast, younger gamers so it's all the people that play garbage mobile games like Roblox that play multiplayer, but they don't make up the bulk of gamers. And I think, again, I don't know what the specifics of the
They
survey
make
are,
up the
but like,
bulk of the
it's
revenue for sure.
sorry,
What I would
They
say,
make up the bulk of the revenue.
yes,
Ty,
100%.
what I would say, Ty, is that I'll be very interested to see the numbers on costs. No, not costs, but the amount of people, right?
Mhm.
Because definitely, when you say like the
Mhm.
top 10 games in the world are
Mhm.
multiplayer games, I'd be very interested to see, okay, total, how many people are playing multiplayer games on console? How many people are playing single player games?
Do you know
And
what's crazy?
I'd be
We
willing
have
to.
that data. I think
Yeah,
Sakana always brings out the the US top selling games, and all these multiplayer games, WWE 2K,
Yeah.
FIFA, Call of Duty, they're always in that top 10 list. It's
No,
always they're always
that's
selling.
yeah, no,
that's
it's
not
the
what I'm
same on
saying. That's
every
not what I'm
platform.
saying.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Ty, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying who's the top 10 in on PlayStation.
yeah,
I'm saying I'd like to find out, okay, there's 30 million people playing on Xbox.
Mhm.
Mhm.
How many of them are solely playing multiplayer games? How
yeah.
many of them are solely playing single player games? And do that for all the platforms. I'd be willing to bet my left testicle, because the right one I still need. I'd be willing to bet my left testicle that the single player gamers make up the majority.
And another thing you just have to consider, Tai, is that if you look at the multiplayer games, it's literally the same games over and over and over again. It's never like, ooh, there's a new Fortnite. It's always Fortnite, Call of Duty, Grand Theft Auto. But look at the entries that are coming in when you look at single player games. Literally every month we're getting gold. Like I would actually go to you to support your point about AAA gaming being better than it's ever been. I'll go as far as saying this is the second golden age for RPGs. If I look at the amount of releases of high quality,
Good
from
releases.
games that cost almost nothing to make to super complicated, elaborate AAA to where you can say semi double, sorry, what is it, quadruple A games.
Oh God,
There's
stop
there's
it.
more now than we've ever had. Like, and I'll be the first one to admit that like that is a true fact that we have more high quality role playing games now than any other time in history of video games. That's
Yeah,
a
no,
fact.
I would agree with that with the RPG elements. To what Luke was saying about multiplayer, I would say most of Xbox concurrent players on multiplayer games. Same for Steam, same for PlayStation.
Same for PlayStation.
Um,
But it's the same
it's just a
game.
live
Would
service
you agree
element
with
of
that?
it. Sorry.
It's the same brands or it's the same games. So it's either going to be Fortnite, it's always going to be Call of Duty, it's always going to be GTA. It's literally the same game.
No, true. I
It's
agree with
not like there's
with that.
new IPs. They fail. This is why everybody's been chasing this dream of the next big multi, and it just doesn't happen. You
No,
can't
but
make
this is
another
true. But
Fortnite.
I think a game like Marvel Rivals comes out and that takes everything by storm because everyone wants to play those kind of
Hundred
games.
percent.
So I think it's always going to be
How
multiplayer games that's going to really do these crazy numbers.
But like look at how many.
Only multiplayer games are gonna do crazy numbers.
No, single player has
No, but
bought
he's talking about
consistently.
like 100 million plus type of shit, like overnight. But now, Ty,
Who
just
has
one last.
100 million players?
This guy's being so pedantic. I'm trying to say, okay, let me just kind of clarify. I'm trying to say, like,
Ocean
overall
said over
multiplayer.
100 million.
Yeah, I think he's like,
Yeah,
it was like
like
stretching.
GTA is we've got over 100 million people that own it. It's 150. It's sold
Minecraft is another
150
game
million.
that that
So
has crazy.
technically, it has. Minecraft also is up
Fortnite.
there. Fortnite probably, if you counted all the players across all the platforms, you're probably
But thi-
looking at
but
like 100
but this is an unfair comparison now, because when we bring in GTA has a single player component. I know, but most of the people that I know, most, and I mean like 99% of people that I know who bought GTA bought it for the single player. Where does this go into your analytics, Oshas?
I would agree with that. I would say you could split that maybe 60-40. Either way, like, are people still buying GTA in 2025 for the single player?
Honestly,
Yes.
what I will say there is, I think there's a very strong argument that people bought it for the single player, but there's a point. It could have been the third year, fourth year, where they're buying it for the multiplayer. Like every single GTA TikTok I'm seeing, YouTube video I'm seeing, it's all about the multiplayer. Like for Skyrim, we know it's single player because everyone's just making single player content. But I'm not seeing any single player content for GTA. It's always updates for multiplayer, and the game is still
So
selling. I don't know if like my friend who bought it 2 years ago. This is a game that came out like 10 years ago. I don't know. I don't think he's buying it for single player. I think he's buying it for the multiplayer because the multiplayer is insanely good. I've seen these content creators, they create real life stories. Like it's like they live in this world, and
yeah,
they all role play with each other. I think I would. I'm not. I mean, don't hold me to this, but I would argue that most people who are buying GTA now are buying it for the multiplayer because
that's what I think as
the
well.
kids are all buying
Like,
it for the multiplayer, and they're buying it in massive in
so
sales.
to your point, Ty, and to answer Luke's point, like, do you know that
Mm.
Fortnite has over 650 million active users, and it has 100 million monthly active users?
Mm.
Mm.
Crazy numbers, yeah.
So that's like what I'm saying is that, like, sorry, 110 monthly active users, 110 million monthly active users. So games like that, like, for instance, there was a gap. If you look at, like, for instance, Marvel Rivals, where was the gap to be filled there? What was the game that Blizzard fucked up on that everybody
Overwatch.
really loved? So when Overwatch dropped the ball with Overwatch 2 and all that bullshit that they did there, guess who came in with the perfect, and again the execution, like, to your point, who was talking about luck? Was it Tyre? Was it Luke was saying that they are unlucky? Like, I feel that, like,
Ty
for
was
you to
saying they're
release
unlucky. Confirmed.
a
Ty is an
Fortnite.
export. Ty is an export. Everyone, it's confirmed.
But think about this: for you to release a multiplayer game that can hold an audience for that long and have the same sort of success, you have to get all the things right. But there's an element of luck that's involved there that no one can replicate, and it's the one thing that's fucking up every studio that's trying to make these games. Not even Sony that could make this for console. Like, it's such a tricky market. Whereas a single player game, you know what your audience wants. I know what people that want Oblivion want. They want more Oblivion. I know what people that like Baldur's Gate or Mass Effect want. I just want more Mass Effect. Better graphics, better story. Just improve on what you've done before. These multiplayer games are so tricky, dude. Like, it's literally like being a prospector and looking for gold. You're just digging everywhere.
Hey, but when you hit gold, you're
Yeah,
done. Like for the rest of your career, you're good.
yeah, true.
You're sorted. Anyways. Ty, you tried to introduce it. Hey, Dorian Gray, welcome in. Drawn TJ as well. Welcome in, guys. Smash the like button. Uh Ty, you kind of tried to drag in the topic yesterday, but then I blocked you. But today it's all focused on the whole Nintendo kerfuffle. Uh have your thoughts or has your point of view changed as the days have gone by? Have you mellowed on the choice for pricing of the Nintendo Switch 2 and the games?
Nope, I think the 450 number is probably accurate in terms of them trying to make some kind of money. It's probably what people are willing to buy the console for. So I think that's okay. I don't think many people have too much of an argument with that. And when it comes to things like the camera function and all these other little tidbits here and there, um, who cares? Just go buy a better camera. Then you don't have to use their camera. Like, why is that a problem? So that's another point. People talking about the €7 dollars game that they're selling. That's like a pre kind of tour.
The
Once
demo.
again, who the hell do you think you are telling them to give you a free game? Like, what is this level of entitlement? Like, it's ridiculous. It's so silly. Should they have made it
But
for free?
Reggie says they should have. It should have been free. I mean, if
Reggie
anyone
said
can say it,
what Reggie said for like the reason why the Nintendo Wii Sports was free was because Nintendo didn't want to give it for free because they believe that their games have value. So when they make these products, there's value in it. So you can't just give games for free that devalues it, right? Probably why Nintendo was probably really against the idea of subscription
tell the whole
services.
story, Ty.
Mhm.
Tell the whole
So
story.
yeah, so then but Reggie made them do it because, and the main thing here was because the Wii was still a new device. It was an anomaly, and he says we need people to be able to understand what the Wii can do. So we need to play the Wii. We need to use the Wii remote with tennis, golf, bowling, and all these things, which might also show developers like, hey, listen, this is really popular. You can make your game with just shooting mechanics or swords or whatever it is, and they did a fantastic job at explaining what the Wii is, or what the Wii was supposed to do.
Tell
The
the whole
question is,
story, Ty.
this is the whole story. What is the Switch 2
That's not the
supposed
whole
to do?
story.
Well, you
That's
tell
not
me
the
the
whole
whole story
story.
then.
The whole story is that that wasn't the first time that Nintendo gave, quote unquote, gave games away. That wasn't the first time. They had done it with the NES, which wasn't doing anything new in terms of actual like peripherals or whatever from its
Mhm.
predecessor.
Which games did they give
So
away?
I don't know what games they gave away. Reggie didn't specify, but he did say when they were arguing in the boardroom with I'm forgetting the Japanese guy, right?
Duck Hunt.
The dude was like, "Oh, Nintendo doesn't give games away," and then Reggie's like, "Shouldn't have said that." And he then presented, "No, here's Exhibit A. Nintendo has given games away to great success, actually."
Yeah. People forget that Duck
So
Hunt came packed into most either what is it, whether you had an NES or you had a TV game system, but like Duck Hunt was in there, it was pre-built, especially if it came with the light gun. But even the ones that didn't have a light gun, you still got Duck Hunt for free.
yeah, so this business of Nintendo doesn't give games away, that's cap. We're just sitting here trying to defend a $1 billion company, which is fine if that's what you want to do, but let's just be honest about it. That's what we're
Yeah,
doing.
so I think the main thing here would be like, what is a material points to like my argument, right?
Hmm.
Reggie did say that, yeah, they didn't want to give, Wii Sports away, and as I said, the reason why they give it away is because they wanted people to understand what the Wii can do. But ultimately, for the Switch 2, there's nothing to understand. There's no trick. There's no gimmick.
So
It's
why
just
make the damn thing?
because people want to play Nintendo games and they want to make a
No,
Nintendo
because
Switch.
there is something to understand. Come on, Osha. Are you calling the developers liars? Because
Oh,
at
you
the
mean
pre-
uh,
the
at the
don't
direct,
include me here.
at the direct,
mhm.
at the direct, the Nintendo direct, the presenters themselves said there's a ton of new stuff on the Switch that they want to show people. Were they lying? Since you're saying there's nothing new,
What new things did they show?
bro. I don't work for Nintendo. I'm just saying. I'm just asking you a question. Were they lying?
Of course, they were lying.
All
This-
right then. There
yeah,
you have
they
it. They
just
were
yeah.
lying. All
This is
right,
this
finish
is
your point. Go
marketing.
ahead.
This
Go
is just
ahead. Go
listen.
ahead.
These guys will this guys turn around to people and say, "Hey, listen, we know $80, $90 for Mario Kart sounds crazy, but trust me, stay tuned for our reveal. We're going to show you why it's worth it." Of course, they're lying. Like, what the hell are you
Damn.
talking about? No,
Damn.
like yeah, like they're clearly stretching it. Like, listen, the game is so. The reason why the Wii Sports works so well is because it's actually fundamental to the Nintendo Wii experience. this little gimmicky free game or $7 game is not a fundamental experience. Therefore, they want to charge for it. I think that's fine. If someone makes a product, a game, who are you to demand it to be free? Like, does that not sound
Also, don't say
enticing to you?
$7. Don't say $7. It's €7. The only currency that is bucks is USD because
Yeah, but like, does that not seem
their
entitled to you though?
currency. Yeah. It sounds. Listen, let's get Osh's take, and then I want to respond to that one specifically. Let me write that question down. Osh's, have your feelings changed
About
on the Switch 2 pricing on the console games, etc.?
no, like I think the whole thing is egregious, man. Like it's all bullshit. Like because what's gonna happen is like there's still a lot of other uncertainties, like tariffs and all that, that's gonna play into these prices. So what we're looking at from a year from now is even higher prices than we have now. And like this thing of like, are you talking about the console or the games as well? Just the
I'm
console.
talking about the whole product. You
Okay,
can
so
pick
first
you
of
can
all,
pick whichever part you wanna talk about, whether
okay,
it's the games, whether it's the camera, whether it's the online, whatever.
so I'm a traditionalist, and I always say look back at tradition
You are
and then
old. Say it.
determine.
You are old.
Absolutely, I'm matured. I'm refined.
You're close to rotting.
Eventually, yes.
Past ripe.
Uh, no, I wouldn't go that far.
Oh
I would
shit.
say I'm just I'm edible.
Uh-huh. Sure.
No homo.
Barely. Hmm.
Because I'm afraid of your Kanye tendencies. Anyway, um,
Listen, this analogy has gone on too far. All right.
anyways, this is what I'm saying, right?
Mm.
Is the whole thing is egregious. Traditionally, console prices need to go down as the generations go, ahead, like as we move on.
They
And
need
there's
to
this
go down
tradition, yes, like the
on who
pricing
though?
always goes down. On Nintendo executives, if you want to switch to bastard.
Okay, I'll stop interrupting. Sorry, I'll stop interrupting.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
that it's all good. It's all good. So my thing is like that's tradition. Like go to any generation. Going let's start with the PS1 because that's the one that most people will remember. By the time the actual PS1 console, the one that was branded PS1, written as ONE, came out, that console was far significantly cheaper than what you bought an original PS or PlayStation 1 for. That same thing repeated with the PlayStation 2, and the PlayStation 2 moving on to Xbox was sold during one of the worst recessions in our lifetime, and console prices still went down. We are in this unprecedented time where, regardless of where we are in the generation, pricing is just going up for subscription services, for actual hardware, which is ridiculous. Like hardware is just getting more and more expensive, and like components. And I think it was who's the dude from Canada who said this? He's like, no, component prices go down the more you produce. We should
Mental
not
nine
be in
now.
metal. Yes, metal. Now I say the same thing, that we should not be in a situation right now where the likes of Nvidia, the likes of AMD, who produce these components for Nintendo, and are charging more for that. There's something there that has got nothing to do with um, the stuff costing more. Like they're not like 4 years in, a PlayStation 5 does not need the most high tech, state of the art stuff to be in a basic PlayStation 5.
Can I interject real quick? I just want to ask you guys a question.
Hmm.
Do you think that the Nintendo Switch 2 is Nintendo's most profitable console per
A
sale?
Switch 2.
Yes.
What do you
Because
The
mean?
most
here's my
profitable
thing. In
console.
order to say a company is nickel and diming or being evil or trying to be assholes, you need to look at the profit margins. So for every Switch 2 that they sell, how much profit do they make? That's the first question. And compare that profit margin to the other consoles that they made in the past. And if the answer is, well, for every time they sold a Switch 1, they made $10. For the Switch 2, they're making $40. Okay, then there's an argument there. That's the foundation we set. Then we can discuss, is that $40 justified or not. But I find this situation where people are just making these claims and there's nothing else to
Ty,
go with
I
it.
feel like no one
Yeah, dude.
is complaining about the console.
Okay.
I
All right.
haven't seen
Sorry, I
people
thought that's
complain
what she
about
was
the
talking
console.
about.
No,
The
no,
main
like,
the main complaint that I've seen, because the Switch 2 just launched, you know, it wouldn't even
it's
make
not
sense for them
launched
to be
yet. It's
complaining
not
about.
out.
Fine. It wouldn't make sense for anyone to be complaining about the prices aren't going down for the Switch 2. It's new. What the hell? What you
Yes.
talking about?
It's
Right?
not
Okay,
even
okay,
out
okay.
yet.
So we're
Nobody
talking
has
The
about
real
prices going
complaint
up. Okay. So
is
we're
the
about
games.
PS5 going up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What?
PS5 it's inexcusable. There's no excuse for the PS5 going up.
Okay. So if it came out that Sony was actually not making that much money on it.
They never made money with most previous consoles anyway. We know
No.
this
But you
for a
see,
fact.
I think that's fine to say. That's a good foundation to have. Now the question is, can a corporation turn around and say, you know what, guys, we were releasing all these consoles and we weren't making money off it before.
We're tired of losing money.
We're
Now
tired
we
of
want to
losing
make
money
money.
because it's a risk. So now we want to make some money. And is it justified for the people to say, no, you're greedy?
Yes,
Because
it
they
is
want to make profit
justified.
margin, because they want to make profits off the consoles.
They've
now.
always been making profit. It's how they spend the profit. The problem with Sony has got nothing to do with them. It has to do with what are they doing with the money. They're green lighting games that cost 300 to 400 million to market and sell. Like you can't do that and then wonder where's the money from the games that I've been making. Consoles have always been loss leaders. That's always been the accepted. The only people that never made loss on their consoles is Nintendo. And that's because of like just how they sort of like structure or how they sort of position their consoles. And the fact that like their pricing, even if you go back to the N64, when Sony was charging $39 a game, they were charging $69 to $79 a game. So that's why they've never lost money.
And to Dorian's point, it's not our problem what they make.
100%. That's the one of
The
the few
same
things
way, because this
story.
is a reciprocal relationship. Ty,
No,
when
I
when
don't
Lam-
buy
when
that. I don't buy
Lamborghini
that at all.
when Lamborghini makes their cars, they really don't care how much people make. They just price it $200,000, $400,000. Whoever can pay for it will pay for it. The thing is, right? A lot of people, you are not included in one of those people. A lot of people feel like the Nintendo Switch and what it provides is not a Lamborghini, and the sales will reflect that. I'm one of the few people that feels like this thing is not going to sell well. Not in terms of the console itself. I
Yeah,
think the console
agree.
will sell just fine, but you're going to have trouble selling games.
100%.
We're going to have you're going to start seeing sales on the Switch, or they're just going to pivot and change their pricing model. Something's got to give, Ty, because as it stands, it's not going to work for the people. And you can call the people brokies. You can call them all you want, all the names that you want. But most people are not going to make the choice to buy as many games as they did on the Switch 2 that they did on the Switch 1.
And since we're talking about Sony, like when Sony releases a handheld, and like the only thing that will make this permissible, look is if like for instance now I've got a choice. Now I've got Sony's probably gonna their handheld is probably gonna wipe the floor in terms of specs of what the Switch 2 is gonna be able to do. And they are releasing third party games and their games cost what is the current price? $70 versus
Yeah.
what this hand wavy thing that that Nintendo is doing. I'm like, well, it can cost $90. It can cost
You think
$120.
Sony? Wait a minute,
So
Oshis.
this is what I'm saying. But
You
like,
think
let me
Sony's
finish.
going to maintain the
Let me
price?
finish. No, let me finish. If Sony stays at $70 for their games,
Never
and
happening.
that's the thing, though. I don't think they will because. But my thing is, if they're competing directly against Nintendo and they're making a handheld to compete against the Switch 2, then you're going to see like this attitude that Nintendo has now is going to change very quickly. The Microsoft handheld, not so much because I'm still confused as to how that is going to work. Is it going to be a PC handheld like a Rogue Ally type of thing, or is it going to compete directly with consoles? But this is going to be a console war. When Nintendo and Sony both have handhelds out, there's not going to be a difference between having a PSP and a DS out. And go back to that time and look at how much the pricing, like Nintendo was competitive with the pricing, especially of the actual console. Just like Sony was really, really driving it hard. Well, with the PSP, I'm not talking about the Vita. They really, really, really tried to drive the value proposition of the console home. The fact that you could play DVDs and the games are also around the same price that you bought DS games for.
The reason why I think you're willing to see them take even losses because one, you said it a few times that competition is key. You know, if you have competition, you
Yeah.
have to compete. So that's one thing. The other thing is at that point, nobody knows where the cap is for the video game industry. There's a very clear now there's a very clear ceiling as to what's PC, what's console, and what's the handheld market. That one's a bit blurry, but you guys get my point. So now that everybody knows exactly what the market is at, and Sony knows what the market is at, Sony's like, okay, now we know console market is this, so it can't get any better than this. So let's pivot to PC and let's start extracting more money from the consumers, which is what Phil Spencer said years ago. He said,
And that's what Sony is doing right now.
yeah, he said it's not growing anymore. Everyone thought it was going to grow, but it stopped growing. It's capped off. So now the question is, how do we make more money from these people? Same thing with Netflix. Netflix did the same thing. They told their users, "Yo, we're going to give you this crazy deal with all these TV shows," and it grew, it grew, it grew. And there was a specific point where Netflix looked at it and said, "Yeah, the growth isn't really happening that much anymore. Now we need to start making money." So yeah, this crazy deal that you guys thought was natural, it's not natural. It's not natural for us to give you $10, 10 euros, $10, whatever you want to call it, to have all these movies and TV shows that we spend billions yearly making. That's not a fair trade-off. Even Game Pass itself, the idea of paying $10 for Game Pass,
That's
Starfield,
crazy.
Doom, it's insane. So of course Microsoft turns around and says, okay, Game Pass isn't growing anymore, so now we gotta extract more money from you people. And I think that's what's happening in this industry. So now Nintendo, Xbox, and Sony are trying to extract more money from their users. Now they might go to things like PC and cloud gaming, blah blah blah. But idea at the end of the day, they know exactly where the cap is, so they just got to make more money. And so that's why I disagree with you on that point.
So my only thing I'll add there is that like the one option that we will always have as gamers is PC, and PC is doing everything. PC is doing handheld. They are doing, according to you, with Xbox, they're gonna do some sort of like a PC hybrid console thing. I don't know what it is, but my thing is PC will always give you the value in terms of what you pay for games in terms of pricing. So for me, and I'm not talking for everyone, if people are willing to pay ridiculous prices when you can still buy the same games or same similar technology games on PC for dirt cheap or nothing, like it makes no sense to me. Like when you can buy Immortals Phoenix from Ubisoft for like $10 and they're still charging you for a less technically inferior game like Breath of the Wild, $80. As a consumer, you have options, and that's the only thing that matters to me. If people still want to support Nintendo and Sony, go ahead. But I think both companies have become extremely predatory. But I'll give Microsoft this: Microsoft has not raised. Has Microsoft raised the Xbox Series X and S price
No.
during all this kerfuffle? No, they haven't. Like in South Africa, we're still, aside from our own rand, our own currency tanking, we're still paying more or less the same prices that we paid for Xbox, especially the Series S. And I'm looking at the games. Yes, they did raise their games to meet to be. Xbox games are now $70, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're on par with PlayStation. That's the
Yes.
only change I know that they made. And then yes, they did raise the subscription price for Game Pass. But if I compare to what Sony did, offering a lesser service in terms of like quality, I discontinued my PSN because it's bullshit compared to what you're getting on Xbox Game Pass.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, people will always vote with their wallet. And if you are consistent with that, if Xbox is consistent with this strategy of theirs of focusing on value, I promise you in the long run, I don't know how they're going to do it. It's either they're going to have more active users or whatever, but they're going to come out on top in terms of they're going to have a bigger consumer base than Nintendo and Sony. Because no one wants to pay $90 to $100 for a game, bro. Go.
On the $90 for a game part, I think when we speak about certain titles that can charge you like way more than usual, GTA comes to mind. But Take Two said something very interesting in one of their annual reports. Strauss said that when new IPs come out for $70, they don't actually sell that well because people are more reluctant because of its price. But here's what he did say, and this I think it's important for us to understand the data that we might not like. He said, "But if you're an established IP, people will buy it." Spider-Man 2 came out for $70. Spider-Man 1 was $60. Spider-Man 2 broke records, right? So that's a clear example of people recognizing an IP. Twilight Princess broke records, came out for $70. Nobody complained. people all bought it, right? Baldur's Gate 3 has the recognition. If that comes out for $70, people buy Baldur's Gate 3. That's what it is. In fact, when you have motherfuckers buying fucking sorry for cursing, football, college football, before it even drops, that game sold like I think 2 million. That's 2 million people buying college football for $100. When you have even the Warhammer game as well, right? Before it came out, like they were selling packages for $120, $150. We could see the numbers already of people that are playing it on Steam. It was high enough. It was like
Okay,
200K,
those two
whatever it
games,
was.
those two games were big exceptions. First off,
Oh, you said
Warhammer.
big exceptions, but then the question is, are you telling me Mario Kart isn't bigger than these games? 30
No, it
million
is
plus,
like
30 million
look.
plus sales?
It is.
Like
It
the
is.
No, I agree with you.
Mario Kart, Zelda, GTA. Like I always say this to people, right? There's the games you have to move away for is GTA, of course. Call of Duty you can put in that category, but man, it depends. It's a multi-platform game, so what it is. But you don't drop near Mario Kart. You don't drop near a Mario game. You don't drop near a Zelda game. Like those games are games you move away for. So now we're making it seem like Mario
I
Kart
don't
doesn't have
think.
that
Not
staying power.
really. Nah, they don't really.
Nah, I'm not buying.
Bro,
Yeah,
nobody
no,
moves their date for Nintendo games because those games don't compete
nah.
with what
No,
the
no, no. I'm not
audience is
saying.
trying.
I'm saying if Mario Kart is dropping on the 1st of
Uh-huh.
January, you don't want. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, as well. Monster Hunter as well. You don't want to be anywhere near these games because
Nah,
they're gonna take sales. The kids are gonna want to play it. Everyone's gonna want to talk about it.
yeah, but I think that's a different audience, Ty. Like that's where I disagree with you. Is that like I don't
Yeah,
think
when
anyone
we
is
talk about
changing
Mario,
their date. Like Mario does not like who has moved since the
Mario
Nintendo
only
64?
cannibalizes Nintendo sales. Like unless
Exactly,
you're a developer for Nintendo, right?
100%.
If you make games for Nintendo, yeah, game the same day as Mario. But if you're making, I don't know, Hogwarts Legacy, if you're making, dude, whatever, another Souls like, whatever average good game that you want to make, you can just drop it on the same day as Mario. It's not changing anything
It's not
because you're
gonna.
not even launching. You're not even launching on the Switch. Let's be honest.
Are we're talking like Mario Odyssey.
All Mario's, dude. Like
Yeah.
I don't think any
Dude.
Mario game cannibalizes any other game because the audiences are so different. Like it's such a
We can
Yeah,
say
the
the
people,
audiences.
the
We
people
can
that
say
are
the
buying Mario
audiences are different.
Odyssey, Tyler, the people buying Mario Odyssey are not buying Fallout 2 or Fallout 4.
for.
I'm sorry,
There's
they're not
something that
buying
I think is
Oblivion.
important. There's something I think is important here, and I give Oblivion credit for this. When you launch in a window where there's no one else talking about any other product, you're gonna benefit from that window, right? So the reason why Assassin's Creed Valhalla did so well is because as soon as Cyberpunk left, there were other games around that time, but there was literally nothing to talk about, and that's why it did so well. So when Nintendo drops a Zelda or a Mario Kart or Nintendo Switch 2, the console itself, just the console itself, you do not want to be near that launch window because they're going to consume the Twitter space, they're going to consume TikTok, they're going to consume YouTube. Everyone
For
who's a
people
content
that
creator is
care,
going to want to talk about that product.
Yeah,
for people that care about
for
Nintendo,
8 and
Tyler.
10-year-olds, bro. Like
No, That's wrong. It's not true. A lot of people want to talk about Nintendo.
and 50-year-old neckbeards who
I
But
can even say like I don't know. Like, we're talking about a game that sells 30 million units, right?
dude,
Huh?
Are they
no
okay?
one's saying it's not gonna sell. No one's saying it's not gonna sell, my guy. But
No.
we're
Yeah,
talking
what I'm
about
saying is, why
profile
would you?
of gamers.
I get
That's
that,
like
but I'm
trying to
saying
say That's like saying when Candy Crush has a new update, you shouldn't have an update for Fortnite. It's like, dude, it's not even the same people that care about these games. Sure, they're both live service, they're both video games, but you're not saying anything because no one playing Candy Crush is playing Fortnite. No one
Okay,
playing
I'll
Fortnite
put
is
it to you
playing
here.
Candy Crush.
You're
Not
my
religiously,
booty.
at least.
You're my booty, and
I
Nintendo's
wish I was Matt
announced
Booty. God
and
damn.
Nintendo's announced the Switch 2 is coming out on this particular specific date. Turns
Mm.
out it's the exact same date as Forza. If your playground games or you're my booty, do you tell Forza,
Bang
let's
it.
move it? Do you
Bang
release
it.
on the same day?
This changes nothing.
Huh. That's so
Dude,
interesting. As
So
you
wait,
said,
actually believe
say that again, Ty. What is he saying? What's Ty
if
saying?
you're
he thinks
booty
this
and
thing is going to
playground games are
cannibalize Forza Horizon 6, for example.
But Mario,
That's
like
crazy.
Mario
no,
Kart, ain't
Nintendo
no way.
Switch 2 with Mario Kart.
And it would like, and I stopped releasing. In fact, I would go as far as saying it would actually do good for the sales of Forza Horizon 6. If it's because everybody's sort of like saying it's got that vibe of Forza, and any grown up that owns a console or PC wants to play that sort of experience, but not with mascots. Like all I'm saying is that like it's very different audiences, dude. Like there's no ways.
No. Okay. Do you think the audience for Breath of the Wild, or sorry, Tears of the Kingdom, let's say Breath of the Wild, was similar to Horizon?
No, not at all.
Do you think Zelda Breath of the Wild, as Dorange pointed out in the chat, do you think that hurt Horizon in some way, shape, or form?
Breath of the Wild hurt Horizon.
Did Zelda hurt Breath of the Wild?
No,
Huh?
the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, did it hurt
Uh-huh.
Horizon Zero Dawn in any way?
No,
shape, or
no.
form?
Horizon hurt itself. Horizon hurt itself, brother.
Guys, it's well known. It's literally well known that
Wow.
every time Horizon has dropped, it's been damaged because the first time it dropped beside Zelda, and Sony wasn't
But not
expecting that.
really.
And then the
Not
second,
really.
the
I
second
mean,
time it dropped beside
because
Elden Ring.
no,
Alright,
because even you, Ty, have put. You see, the Elden Ring one, I can actually say that one affected it, but the Switch one, sorry, the
yes,
Zelda one
yeah.
didn't, because it's completely different audiences. Plus, Ty, you were the one who brought these facts to TSWS. Shout out to you. We were not aware of this, but the snooze fest that is the Horizon series actually has sold very, very well. So
Over
it has to be
32
either the
million
left
copies worldwide.
or the right, Ty. Either it didn't sell because Nintendo now cannibalizes games on PlayStation and Xbox, or it did.
Can I ask a question? How many Horizon? There's only 2 Horizon games, right?
I think
Yeah.
there's 3.
No, Breath of the
No,
Wild.
there's 2.
Horizon Zero Dawn.
There's
and Horizon
3. There's a
Forbidden
VR one.
No.
Isn't there like a
West. Yeah, there's a
VR one?
VR one, but that's
Yeah, I suppose, but that thing didn't sell anything. But I'm talking about consoles.
Wait,
like,
wait. I didn't say, you didn't say are they 2 that sold
Yes,
well. You just said
I
are they
agree.
2 games.
You know, you're so literal, Luke. You
Oh
love
my
being
God.
literal. So my
All
point
right,
is,
fine.
2 games have sold over 32 million copies from
It's
one
a lot of
franchise.
copies.
That's a lot of copies, dude, from 2 games. Because I bet you, if, like, for instance, you count the VR game that Luke is mentioning and the Lego game that didn't sell anything, they'll probably contribute
Fuck,
maybe
the Lego
3
game. That's
Horizon.
4 games. That's
Yeah,
4
But that didn't
games.
sell. That didn't sell at
the
all.
franchise.
Yeah. Like,
we need to look at some super chats, guys. We need to look at the super
no,
chats.
please go ahead.
Drawn TJ, thank you so much. Says PlayStation doesn't have any games for a handheld. Drawn TJ, I think the time of handhelds having their own specific games, I think that died with the PS Vita. That idea died with the PS Vita. I think the rest of the panel agrees with me when I say that I think any handheld moving forward because of the Switch will be a handheld that will have games that go on the console as well as mobile. Confirmed? Do you guys agree? Osha's
Yeah.
time?
Yeah.
Ty,
So
do
I
you
missed the
agree?
question that games will go on mobile.
No, John
Yeah, no, I
TJ
agree.
said John TJ with the $2 super chat said PlayStation doesn't have any games for a handheld, and I'm saying the days of making specific games just for the handheld are gone. Now the games that are going to come out, or the handhelds that are going to come out, are going to play the games that are on your console. Maybe
Yeah.
just less resolution or frames or whatever.
So just look at like
I
how
have to agree with that.
yeah. So like look at how cell phone games are working right now. With the difference being is that you're still buying a hardcore gaming console. So the only thing that they're going to do, I think, is that they're just going to have and this is the genius thing that Nintendo has done is that they make these games that can be played in small like bursts. So they're probably just going to change maybe how they approach. They make the games like maybe more saves more often if you're like on a train or whatever. But I think in terms of like you're not going to get different versions for different consoles. It's going to be the same thing, just with
Yeah,
better sort of like if to the
resolution
point.
on
Yeah,
your
exactly. Even like to a point where like they'll have mini games in the game that you can just play when you're like maybe traversing. You'll get an
yeah.
activity that you can do while you're on the train.
Ron TJ with another super chat. Thank you so much, Ron TJ. Says Tae is comparing apples to oranges. Yeah, me and Oshis agree with that one.
Mhm.
In what
We
example? The Mario
definitely,
Kart one?
we definitely agree with that one.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
but like the last time,
Sorry, go ahead, Oshis.
no, I was gonna say the last time like Nintendo would eat into your sales was back in like maybe the GameCube era, like where a game Nintendo drops will affect another game on another console. And geez, or maybe the actually I'll say the N64 is the last time I remember that happening. Um,
No, but like
where
I mean, come on, this can't be true. Like we can't be saying this. Like
Well,
Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild comes out and everyone's
mhm.
talking about it. You think you drop a game beside that and that's okay?
yes,
That's
like it's not
insane.
gonna make. But like, how
You
is
know
it?
why? You know why, Ty? The reason why I don't think it makes a change. The chat is saying that same thing as Oshis. Hey, Salblo, welcome in. Yeah, your Celtics, man. Your Celtics, they're looking legit. The reason why we're saying this, Ty, is let's use your example of Zelda, right? Zelda drops. Let's say Loke is on PS5. Everyone's talking about Zelda. Loke doesn't have a Switch. Loke has a PS5. Do you think, like 9 times out of 10, what do you think Loke is going to do? Do you think he's going to buy Horizon, or do you think he's going to buy a Switch to play the Zelda game?
He's gonna buy Horizon.
I think 9 times out of 10, that's what happens to most people that are either on PlayStation, Xbox, or PC when Nintendo launches a big game like that.
But you're forgetting that the Switch is the medium console. I think it shows that high numbers of PlayStation users have a Switch, high numbers of Xbox users have a Switch. So these people have access to Nintendo games, right? I'm sure everyone in the chat right now, Dorian, Mystic Fragments, Fuzzy Tomato, John TJ, they have an Xbox or PlayStation or on a PC, but they definitely have a Switch. I could put money on that right now. So when Zelda comes out, they play it. When Mario Kart comes out, they play it. And the point is
Again,
really there's
you're right
families
on
out
that
there
one.
who don't have that much finance. So the question is, when a big game like Mario Kart comes out, and then maybe a game like a Forza comes out, why would Forza want to be going up against Mario Kart? Just let Mario Kart have that space, and then you can drop maybe a month later or come out before. Yes, Mario Kart is big enough to impact. Not sorry, not let me never say impact to hurt your momentum. Right, because remember, even for GTA, it's not that GTA is going to do crazy things. I mean, it's going to do crazy things, yeah. But the key thing here is what is the internet saying? What is social media saying? What are the mods doing? And if they're all talking about your product as opposed to the other product, then that's something you don't want. I think Herman Holt said it himself that like, yeah, we launched besides Zelda, and you know what? It was tough competition. I think there's even articles where it said like, oh, this is unfortunate for Horizon. It is unfortunate because when Horizon comes out and it's doing 8 and it does like a 9 out of 10, and everyone's like, oh, this game Horizon comes out, and then Zelda comes out a week straight after, and then the whole internet's talking about Zelda, tweets about Zelda, YouTube videos about Zelda. Everyone's talking about Zelda, and no one's talking about Horizon. The question is, does it make sense for Horizon to back
What
up? I'll even give another example. Elden Ring. Horizon drops, Elden Ring comes out. Loke isn't in that state of like, you know what, let me see what's there. Let me give another example. South of Midnight dropped, and Loke wanted to play it. South of Midnight is completely different from Elden Ring. If South of Midnight drops a day before Elden Ring, it's dead. Because the people who are tweeting about South of Midnight are in
Sorry,
no
Ty.
way, shape,
Sorry,
or
Ty.
what's
Ty,
up?
I dropped for like 2 seconds there. The pod,
Okay.
this app, every time it gets close to 2 hours, it gets a bit finicky.
Okay.
Can you restart that again?
Yeah, I said
I'm
like
very
here's another
interested in
example
hearing
of
this.
two games that are completely different: Elden Ring
Mhm.
and South of Midnight. And
Okay.
when South of Midnight drops, if it drops beside Elden Ring, Loke might be like, you know what, let me check out South of Midnight, and all the other
No,
guys who were tweeting
no,
about it. But if
no.
Elden Ring drops a day after, you're not playing South of Midnight.
I'm not. I'm not.
So why would you drop beside a big game that's going to consume the memory space?
Because dude, this is a situation where we need to pick a lane, right? Nintendo owns console gaming. We need to first agree on this, right?
Mobile gaming, you mean?
No, stop it, Oshus. Stop moving the goalpost. Console belongs to Nintendo. All right?
No, console
It
belongs to
just
Sony.
it belongs to who?
Sony.
Okay, how many copies did how many consoles did PlayStation 5 sell?
It's probably around 70 something right now.
All right, barely half of what the original Switch sold. All right,
But the Switch hasn't
so
sold as much as the PS2 or the PS4. So what are we comparing? Like I'm just saying facts. Bro.
we're
Like
comparing who is the
consoles,
higher
mobiles
who has the
belong
higher customer base today.
in
That's
handhelds.
who
It's
owns
Nintendo.
gaming. No,
In
sir.
handheld, it's
No,
Nintendo.
no.
But
It's
not
not
in
a
console.
handheld. It's not a handheld, Oshus. You want to call it a handheld? You can have it. Go
Sony
ahead.
has the most home consoles sold,
As far
like
as I'm concerned,
generationally. That's a
all
fact,
right,
though. Look, I'm not.
that's your
I'm not
opinion.
making that up. No, it's not an opinion.
That's
It's a
your
fact.
opinion.
The PS2 and the PS4 are still the highest. Has the Switch outsold
My
the
God,
PS2?
my God, Oshus, this is
Okay,
ridiculous.
I'll drop it. I'll drop it.
This is
It's fine. But I'm
crazy.
just saying. But
You're
you're
going
wrong.
to
Like,
now sit here. You're
but you're
now going
wrong,
to
bro.
sit here and say the king of video games is Tetris, even though Tetris hasn't been relevant since Tetris Effect,
Bro,
because it's the game that has sold the most copies of all time. Ain't nobody
no,
talking about all time, sir.
no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying
That's
there's
what you're
no one
saying.
that
Who brought the
no
PS2 here? Who brought the
who
PS2
has
here?
sold the most
Oshus,
consoles.
answer the question. Who brought the
Yeah.
PS2 here?
Okay, the PS4.
Who
Like,
brought my grandmama's grandmama to this
bro,
conversation?
when was the Series S released? So when was the
I'm
Switch
embarrassed to
released?
even be having this conversation.
No,
We're talking
you
about
are,
we're
bro.
talking
You are
about
too
the
far off the
current king.
reservation.
We're talking about the king
No, they're not the
of
king
current
because the console
of
was released at
console
an
game.
awkward time,
This
bro.
guy's talking about
No,
about
like
the PlayStation 2.
bro, you are capping. You are complete. I
I'm
like
capping
you
because the
are capping.
PS2
When was the Switch released, bro?
today in
When
the
was the
year
Switch released?
2025,
Was the
the
Switch released
PS2
circa
the
2020,
PS2 is still relevant according to
bro?
OSHA 07.
Oh, bro, when
I'll
was the
never
Switch
forget
released?
this day. I'll never
Man,
forget this day. We're
you are
discussing
look, you
who's
are
the
capping,
king
my man.
of football today. Oh, who's the king of
Like,
gaming today? OSHA brings up the PS2.
no, look, you are seriously capping now. You are out of pocket for this one. When was the Switch released compared to say the PS5 and the
That
Xbox, whatever? Like if
OSHA,
we're talking about dates, because you're saying this is based on dates now, and I'm saying
my
this
mind is
console.
glitching.
Uh,
My mind is glitching. For me, right? As soon as we have a discussion about today, and then you bring up the PS2, like,
you bring up
bro,
an old console. When was the Switch? When was the Switch released, bro?
the PS2 came out. Oh, okay, guys. Here's another one, right? Point one. When we're
Man,
discussing current gaming,
man.
we bring up the PS2.
The Switch was
Also,
literally competing with the
also,
PS4 and the Xbox
also,
One.
also, ladies and
My guy,
gentlemen, did you know that the Switch came out at the same time as the PS2?
my guy, you're out of pocket for this one here. Like,
I'm out of pocket.
you are way out of pocket because this console was released in 2017. It's closer to the Xbox One and the PS4 than it is the PS5 and the Xbox Series X and S. So you can't like you comparing those. It had a way longer time to actually build up sales before those consoles were even released. So to compare
I'm
it to the
loving the comment
PS4,
section. I'm loving the comment section.
is a much closer comparison than what you're making, bro.
I'm loving the comment section. I'm loving it. Ron TJ, thank you for the $5 super chat. Says what I meant is they don't have any first party games for a handheld. Um, that's fair enough, Ron TJ. Thank you for the five. But I would say that the first part, yeah, you know what? I agree with you. They don't have any first party games specifically for the handheld. That's not going to happen. They don't have, and they probably will not have. Same thing as Xbox. When Xbox's handheld comes out, they're just going to port whatever's on the console to the handheld, etc., etc. That's what they're both going to do. There is no way around that. Drawn TJ says Mario is only on Nintendo, so it doesn't matter. I wouldn't say it doesn't matter, right? But I would definitely say it doesn't cannibalize anything because, or not anything, but it doesn't cannibalize sales from other consoles because, and thank you for bringing me back to my point, Dorian Gray, before Oshus was coming here with madness, right? Madness. Tai, Nintendo is the king of consoles.
Taye, please.
The
be
reason
honest.
why the reason why there's no cannibalizing going on is because everyone already owns a Switch, and most of the people that own a Switch, in terms of consoles, that's their main platform. A lot of people have the Switch as in like a side console, but in my opinion at least, majority have it as the main console, which is why the Switch has so much in terms of not only profits in terms of selling the console, but also in terms of people buying their games compared to the PlayStation, compared to the Xbox, right? So for me, they have the majority, the lion's share of the player bases. What I'm trying to say is they don't cannibalize sales on people who have a PlayStation and that's it. They don't cannibalize sales of people that have an Xbox and that's it. And as much as we might think that it's normal to have two or three consoles, the reality is most people on the planet cannot afford to not only have two consoles, but consistently buy games on two consoles. That's just the harsh reality. This is very much a niche hobby, right? It does make a ton of money. It makes a ton of money, but most of the people that are taking part in it own a PlayStation 5 and that's it. They own a PlayStation 4 and that's it. They own a Switch and that's it. They own a PC and that's it. And they own an Xbox and that's it. The vast majority. This thing about having two, three consoles, it's not the like 9 out of 10 people do not have that situation at home. That's why I'm saying they don't cannibalize, because the people that have PlayStations are just gonna buy games on their PlayStation. The people that have the Xboxes just gonna buy Game Pass. And the people on PC, they're just gonna play on PC. That's for me. That's why when I look at it, when you say, "Oh no," when Zelda comes out, people drop their Xboxes to go and play a Zelda. It's like,
I'll
yeah,
say this real
but
quick. Yeah.
how many people
I'll
have
say this real quick.
Xboxes and a Switch?
When
That's all I'm saying.
Xbox, here's a point for you guys, right? These are facts I'm saying now, right? During the FTC trial, when Sony was trying to argue that Nintendo isn't part of the industry, Xbox was trying to argue Nintendo was. Xbox brought out a data point and said that gaming on PlayStation and Xbox dropped around this time in terms of consistent user base users, and it dropped because a game called The Legend of Zelda came out.
When was this?
The
now? I don't
reason
remember.
why Xbox was able to win that is because they were able to show that Nintendo does have a material impact on the video game industry, especially when it comes to games like obviously like Xbox and PlayStation as well. You could Google that up. I remember reading that up, in the case in the court trial. But the other point that I want to say is I'm not talking about damaging Horizon per se or even Monster Hunter, right? If I said, for example, Monster Hunter, Pokemon, Assassin's Creed, and Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 all came out the same day, they would all do well, but someone is taking a hit. somebody is being affected in some way, shape, or form. And the answer is Monster Hunter probably wins that. Assassin's Creed still does the numbers, but it doesn't probably
I
do
think
as well because
Pokemon's winning.
Pokemon, yeah, wins all. But you see, the point is when you have the media, Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo fans all talking about your product, when Reddit's talking about your product, when Twitter's talking about your product, you can gain more momentum. That's why Metaphor was able to gain momentum, right? Because everyone's talking about it. Everyone is doing YouTube videos about this new JRPG game. Japanese games are the best. That's what you want. You don't want to drop Metaphor and then 2 days later, Pokemon drops. No one's talking about your game anymore. Your game's still going to sell to the JRPG fans, but there's individuals out there who bought Elden Ring because everyone was talking about Elden Ring, right? So the key thing here is marketing. We're not talking about like losing sales, it's marketing. So when Horizon drops beside, because if you remember very well, when Horizon drops, yeah, everyone's making videos about it. Even I was making videos about Horizon. I was doing a script. As soon as Zelda dropped, I don't know what Horizon is anymore. I'm not talking about Horizon. I'm talking about Zelda now. So to go back to the main point, do you want to drop your game on the same day as the Nintendo Switch 2 when Mario Kart is dropping day one as well? The answer is probably not. You want to move away from it, and you should move away from it. You need to give Nintendo that respect, because if you don't give it that respect, you're just hurting your own potential sales. Because remember, this is not about the developer. This is simply marketing at this point. You ask your marketing team, can we do this? I guarantee they'll say, why would we do it?
The
Why
same
would we drop
marketing
our
team,
product
the same
beside a
marketing
console that can
team
sell?
that's been telling you for years to embrace DEI and all these agendas. So, okay, let's not paint the marketing team as the geniuses that they're not. All right, let's chill. Let's chill on the marketing team.
Dorange is speaking facts today. He said Breath of the Wild and Elden Ring were like zeitgeist games. Yes. Why would you want to drop beside Breath of the Wild?
Again, Ty. If you make Resident Evil 7 and it's not launching on the Switch, if it's not dropping, right? If it's not on the Switch, I'm dropping it on PlayStation, on Xbox, and on PC. It's not taking anything away, because the people that have the Switch, most probably that's their main console. Most probably Breath of the Wild is where they're going to spend their time regardless. So I'm not worried. I'm only worried if I'm launching my game on the Switch.
Okay, here's an additional point. Do you guys would you guys say that, the marketing for Baldur's Gate 3, with everyone talking about the having sex with a bear and all just everyone talking about it, that helped the momentum of the game?
Why is that the first thing that comes to your mind is having
Because
sex
that
with
was
a
what
bear?
everyone was talking about, bro.
That's not
No,
what
I don't know. In your circles, that's what
for
everyone's
me.
talking
For me, it
about.
was the return of turn-based games.
Okay.
This guy.
Would you
in the
say
West,
that
in the West at least.
would you say the momentum would have been the same if The Legend of Zelda and Breath of the Wild dropped the exact same? Do you think Baldur's Gate 3 would have had the exact same momentum, or would some of these
For
people
me-
would have been talking about?
For me,
100%.
No,
for me,
I'm talking
I
about general
don't
now. General, not just you.
you're talking about in
I'm
general.
talking about
Yeah,
general.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think
online
yes,
space.
it would have.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
I think in general, it would have lost some steam, just a little bit, because it's Zelda, right?
Yep. And then my question is, then if you're
So-
because remember, Larian moved out of the way because of Starfield. I mean, apparently, look, moved out of the way. They didn't want to drop beside Starfield because it was RPG.
Is that
similar.
true?
It was.
Oh,
it's
wait,
kind
That
of
would make
rumored
more
because
sense because they're
delayed it.
both going to be
Yeah,
released on Steam.
But are you telling me that like Larian doesn't look at Breath of?
It's
sorry,
the same-
Legend of
No, I
Zelda
don't think
Twilight
But
they
it's
would
the
have
Princess,
same.
and they think,
It's essentially the same game, or not same game, same genre. They're like genre adjacent, and they're literally platform adjacent. So it makes sense to move out of the way, because Larian at that point
100%.
was still kind of
And-
like this indie studio. We're trying to figure
I
out
get it.
something.
I'm
We'll
just
see.
saying,
And they're
don't
releasing on
pin
the
me-
same platforms.
don't-
They're going to be on
don't pin me
PC,
to that
Xbox, and
point.
PlayStation.
Don't pin me to that point exactly, because I'm just trying to expand. if they
Okay.
could look at Starfield and say this, okay, it's because it's PC centric, it's similar to us, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The question is still the same. When you look at Breath of the Wild, if you feel that this can hurt our momentum when in the studio, the last game we make was the Vincent Original Sin 2, so like 7 million copies. Someone's about to drop a game that's probably going to sell 30 to 40 million copies. Do we really want to drop it beside it? Why don't we just wait a week or 2 weeks? The same thing with Monster Hunter as well. If Shadows and Monster Hunter are completely two different games. One of them is story focus, stealth, assassinations. The other one
No,
is whatever.
our
Do
argument
not
is not
drop
just
beside those
genre.
games.
No,
But
the argument that me and Oshis are having is not just genre. It's genre plus platform. Because the person that can play Baldur's Gate probably has a PS5 or
yeah,
a powerful PC. Most of the
100%.
people that are buying Baldur's Gate don't have a Switch or don't prioritize a Switch. So you can drop it. You can drop it on the same day, no problem.
I don't
But when you
care.
compare two games like Starfield, Assassin's Creed and what? Monster Hunter Wilds. These games are on the PlayStation, they're on the Xbox, they're on the
Yeah.
Switch. These games are going head to head, bro. Like the same way Marathon is definitely going head to head with Borderlands 4. That's happening because they're on all platforms. If Marathon was just on PlayStation and Borderlands was just on like Xbox, Nintendo, and PC, then they're not going head to head. They're not going to cannibalize the sales because they're like separated by walled gardens, which is what Nintendo has effectively done for decades.
See, I guess I don't know you guys' circles then, because literally in my circles, every single body owns a Switch. They buy The Legend of Zelda, they buy Mario Kart.
Hey,
they
you
buy all
live
these-
in Ireland, bro. You
Yeah,
live
man.
you live in a first world country. Some of us, we need to look at value. We
Okay,
can't
well, then
just
my
look at
pushback would be
I want
most
to
of the
have
sales come
fun.
from first world countries, right? So that's my point, because the sales are not really coming from third world or second world countries, because they're coming from first world countries. Most of my group, literally, they all have a Switch, PlayStation, they have a PC, they have all these things, and I can almost guarantee you,
Are you sure?
if,
Are you
if
sure
the
your group
Legend of
doesn't
Zelda
have
comes out, the sequel, they are buying it.
Ty?
What's up?
Ty, can I send my CV to your group, bro? Like, can we work something out, bro? Because I could use some work. Because goddamn, bro, everyone has
Even the comment
everything.
section is
Yeah.
saying like, nah, you guys are, I think you guys are insane. Like, I'm just from
I don't know.
perspective. I was
John
just,
TJ said Mario is overrated and too expensive and is limited to one device that is also
Yeah.
overpriced. Nintendo is such a joke. I don't know which comment section you're looking at. Dorian Gray says BG3 is primarily PC. PC and Switch are enough distance away. Bro, come on, Joe. Which comment section? Oh, I need you to go to YouTube, right? And then click on the right video. Because I think you're at the wrong comment section. I really do. But let's go back to some of these questions here.
Look at this. Just before you go there, look at
hold
like
on.
what Richie said. Oblivion is already at 132k players, bro. What did I say to you?
Jesus. All right. Oshas, Ty said something earlier on that I'd like you to respond to. Is it entitled to expect Nintendo to charge less for their own games?
My argument with Ty when it comes to this, he likes to use this word entitled. As a customer, you are entitled. You're a customer. You're paying.
Entitled to what? Hold on. I think
You're
I might be on
entitled to a
Ty's side
product.
now.
You are entitled to get the product that you want. If they don't give you the product, you don't give
Yeah,
them
but
your
they're
money.
entitled to
Like,
sell you whatever, right?
what? Who's entitled me to sell me whatever?
Nintendo is
If
entitled
I'm
to
a
sell you
sucker, I
whatever.
mean a Nintendo fan, yes, they're entitled to sell me whatever. Like a lot of people take, I was gonna say something vulgar, but there's a lot of people that do a lot of unpleasant things for a
Oh my
living,
goodness.
but
Ooh,
it doesn't mean that those
spicy.
things are, I was gonna say they take dicks in the mouth for a living, but
Oh my god. Should I
does that
get
make it?
water-based lubricant? Jeez.
Yes, like I mean, there's people that do that for a living, bro. There's people that do that daily, even for free. But does that make it the right thing? Does that make it bro? They can do whatever they want, but it doesn't mean that you have to take it. It's as simple as that. If you're an informed consumer and you care about the hard-earned money that you make, then you will make more informed decisions. Like for instance, I've never argued against the value of Game Pass. I've said a lot of things about Game Pass, but I've never argued against the value of the fact that as a customer, I gain more from having a Game Pass, regardless of what I feel about Xbox. It's never going to change the fact that it's a valuable service more than anyone is offering, Sony or Nintendo. And it's the same reason I don't own a damn single Nintendo platform right now, is because of the fact that when the DS came out, I started to figure out that Nintendo is selling me $50 pieces of plastic. These games are like, I can download them, I can get them on emulators, I can get mobile games that are more advanced than these games on cell phone. But like for Nintendo, I have to cough up like $1,000 in our currency, or $50 at the time, and then in American currency. So I stopped buying Nintendo because my head said the math wasn't mathing. There's a lot of people that have too much disposable money that they want to spend on Nintendo.
These Irish Nigerians, bro. It's these Irish Nigerians.
It is these Irish Nigerians. Like, I don't know, man. Like, where are they getting all this freaking money to own all the consoles? This is what happens when you take
That's
African.
the funniest thing I've ever heard, man. You people are the ones who buy more to come out on Xbox, and I'm gonna go buy the whole thing on Steam again.
Because it's like
people
$10.
are the one who are talking about
Bro.
buying games that you finish on Xbox, and you're gonna go buy the Steam version again. Like, get out of here
damn.
with this Irish Nigerian.
But Taye, I could buy 20 of those games for the price of one. Well, what is it, like Switch?
Here's the
game.
thing: if you saved up all this, double buys and double dipping, you might be able to get another Switch too.
You could get a Switch.
I could afford a Switch too. If my brokey ass could like save up all this money I'm wasting on all this value games, all these
But
what do they
hold
call
on,
them? These
even this
humble
low guy, like, look,
bundles.
did you play Midnight, South of Midnight on Game Pass or Xbox?
It's the same thing. Game Pass and Xbox, the same
No,
thing.
did you
bro.
buy it on Xbox or did you play it on Game Pass?
Oh, I got it on Game Pass, but I'm going to buy it on Steam.
Yeah, you see this? You
What?
see this?
What?
Because it'll be a
That's
fraction of
double
the price
dipping.
by the time he buys it. It'll be like $10 on sale on Steam.
Exactly.
And then
Exactly.
if you add
Might
to the
be five.
total price,
Might even be $5. Might even. Hey, but Titkus
Whereas-
Prime, Sour Blow, welcome in. Sorry, go ahead.
no. Whereas like if you look at like you still buying. In fact, Nintendo is still selling you Breath of the Wild at a premium of $80. Like, it's insanity. Like, this is an 8-year-old game. They're still selling it to you for $80.
Ty, I'm sorry.
For a
I'm
next-gen
sorry, Ty.
console.
I'm sorry, Ty. But especially when you bring in like the remasters, when you bring the remakes, the ports. There was a YouTuber that did the hard work for everyone. He made a list of like 4 or 5 games that was $60, right, on the Wii. Got discounted to $20, and then they were resold for $60 again on the Switch. No enhancements, no nothing. The very same game. And that happened. He gave like 3-4 examples, bro. And it's like, this is Nintendo in a nutshell. And you look at the other side, say what you want about PlayStation, but PlayStation will remaster your game. PlayStation will remake your game, and then they'll ask you for $10 on top. I know people like to call me the pony or whatever, but you know what? Comparison is a thief of joy, but it's also how you see value. All right? Nintendo is showing us that the PlayStation, you know what? PlayStation ain't so bad. PlayStation just wants $10, and they'll completely change a game for you for your new console. Whereas Nintendo would give you the exact same motherfucking game, and they want you to pay full price. I won't even get into Xbox, because if we get into Xbox, then it'll just get embarrassing for everyone here. Dorian Gray, no low blows. All right, that's a low blow. Bring up Bloodborne is a low blow. That's a low blow.
I mean,
Stop it.
Nintendo's
Stop it,
pimp
Oshis.
hand is strong. No, I'm talking about
Okay.
like they've got like that strong ass pimp hand, bro. Like they know how to backhand a bitch. Like, bitch, go get me my $80. Like you come there with like scrumpled up like $10. Like, bitch, what the fuck is this?
No.
They'll send you
No.
back, bro. That's
No,
Nintendo.
no,
Like they're
don't mess
strong
with
like
them.
that. Yeah. Like
Pip End is strong. Ron Slasher says, drop the price. What's this? Vince says they only remastered The Last of Us in the last 2 decades, though. Again, Vince, even if, and I can't believe these words are leaving my mouth right now, right? But even if you bring in The Last of Us to this discussion, PlayStation is still more consumer friendly. Because even the complete edition, if you already bought it, you don't have to pay the full price. That's tragic, man. If you can sit there and be like, nah, man, PlayStation actually has more value. And people are talking about PlayStation is the Apple of gaming. Are you sure? Are you sure? Ron Slasher says drop the price.
Apple
More like
is
dropping your pants. All right. So that was Ty's that was Ty's question that I thought would be interesting for Oshis to look at. Now Ty, it's on to you. Oshis said that tradition matters, right? With pricing. So I want to ask you, Ty, should tradition, right, take precedence over the earth shaking innovation, right? The mind boggling evolution of increasing prices?
So is the question, should we stop focus on tradition and focus on, sorry, I kind of missed it. How about
Tradition says console prices should go down.
mm-hmm.
Oshus is 1000% down with that specific part of tradition. My question is, do you agree with Oshus's love for tradition?
Oshus's points is perfectly valid. I think everything should go down. PC should go down. Game consoles should go down. Technology improves, so the technology of 2020 shouldn't cost the same as the technology of now. However, I don't think Oshus has actually done a deep dive into, well, why is this happening? Because he's kind of saying this is happening, but he hasn't said why. And he seems to be
Mm-hmm.
implying that it's happening because everyone's greedy and everyone's selfish. Now,
yes.
we know there's inflation. We know that semiconductor parts became extremely expensive and became rare. That's why there was shortages of consoles. So there's all these factors that he knows about, but he's just chosen to ignore it. Because the truth is, if he dives into it, there's a probably high chance, along with the wages of the people who are making these products and games increasing, he probably believes that like Nintendo or these other companies might be justified. Oshus probably realizes that, for example, when the first Spider-Man game came out, Tobey Maguire game came out, it probably cost maybe 20 million to make, 50 million to make. And, that game was made for whatever, 2030. Then fast forward to now, Spider-Man 1 comes out and it has way more content. It has voice acting, it has animations, it has CGI, it has motion capture. It's giving you a huge open world to swing around. It has all these side missions, and that game not probably cost 150 million to make, probably 100 million more than the previous one that came out 10 years ago. So the question is, why is it that the one that costs maybe 20 million to make, $60, and the one that costs way more to make is it's $60 as well? That doesn't make sense, right? Because cost has increased.
It does make sense.
No, it
To me, it
doesn't.
makes perfect
No,
sense.
because because you're entitled.
And no, yes, exactly. You're absolutely right. I am entitled. I'm a customer. And this time you've been talking, you've been playing this violin, Tai, and singing me this sad song about the poor corporate that can't manage its expenses. I'm just thinking, what part of this is my problem as a customer? Why do I care?
God.
There are competing products that I can go buy that are cheaper. I don't have to buy any of this. That's why I moved to PC, so I don't have to put up with any of this justification as to why you're taxing me more. That is like unconventional, because inflation has always been there. Inflation wasn't invented in 2004, 2005. As I said, 2008, that's when we had the whatchamacallit, that big recession. 2008, 2009. pricing for gaming did not significantly go up the way that we saw it even before this whole thing with
It
Trump.
didn't go up, but
We
was it
saw the
supposed to go up?
pricing go up exponentially.
But was it
Like we
supposed to
did.
go up?
Sorry,
But was it supposed to go up?
was it supposed to go up? What in 2008, 2009?
No, I'm saying in general. Like, I mean, Sean Layden did an interview there where he said, sorry, not even Sean. Sean Layden has talked about this, but also Yoshida,
Yeah,
your guy, he literally said the same thing.
that's a
Shiro,
good question.
he said that,
Yes.
like, to be honest, that the games should have been probably gone up every $5. Now, this is a guy who's managing the studios, and he's seen firsthand that yes, these games are costing more and more to make, but they're
Yes.
bringing in the exact same return. So his offset was like, games should probably be going up $5 every single generation.
Okay, so he's saying in 2008 games should have gone up, right?
No.
Is that what you're saying?
I'm actually just making a general statement now. But like, would you say he's talking crap?
No, he's not talking crap. But like, I asked him the same question I asked you a couple of seconds ago. How is that my problem? They kept game prices down in 2008, 2009 because that was the most competitive console gaming had ever been. Because of the fact that the PS3 and the Xbox 360 were going at each other's throats, as a result, we got a better deal. I am saying you can justify it as any way that you want to as a corporate as to why you want to shift the cost to me, the customer. I don't need to accept it. I can tell you to go take your shiny little pieces of plastic Nintendo, shine them, swing them backwards, and then shine them again, and then shove them up your candy.
Okay. All right.
This is the
All
issue,
right.
right? Because I'll speak to people about this, and I'll say,
Mhm.
the way the industry is going right now, you really just have a couple of options. Number one, you either accept these kind of single player games, and they have stores in them, like Assassin's Creed. Number
Mhm.
two, you accept these live service like games. Sorry, like single player with live service strong elements, like a Guardians of the Galaxy, not Guardians of the Galaxy. Sorry, Suicide Squad. Or three, you just get more live service games. Like there's just something
No.
has to give. Or
There's another
No.
option.
or
There's another option.
wait. Or prices increase. And I'll tell this to these guys.
There's another
nonstop, right?
option beyond that.
Don't say make good games.
No, there's another
No,
option.
I'm not gonna say that. So what about games like to interrupt you? What about Baldur's Gate 3? What about Space Marine 2?
But that's good games.
But like, where are the stores that are making
sets
the
out,
money?
hold on, wait. Nobody sets out to make a bad game. Everyone
No,
wants to
but
make
I'm
a good
saying to
game.
you,
So
why are those
No.
fifth or sixth
Ty,
there.
No.
Ty, whoever greenlit Dragon Age Veilguard, whether they knew it, no, you know what? Screw that. They knew it. Everyone knew that game was going to be divisive. They knew it was going to be a bad game, and they still set out to do it because it was more. It was about more than just the game. It's about sending out a fucking message. So no, when you say no one sets out to make a bad game, that's wrong. There are people who literally, the game. It's not about the game. It's about the message. It's about the identity. So no, I'm not having that one, bro. There's a lot of people setting out before they even lay the first brick, before they make the first line of code. They know this is going to be ass.
Did you
But
watch
you
Joker?
know what? The message we are going to send out is more important than a good product.
Did you watch Joker?
I watched this. No, I heard about the second one, where the dude essentially screwed the first movie.
Okay. Do you think WB signed off on sending a message, or do you think that they thought that they were making, like, hey,
WB
product?
WB doesn't make a message. WB makes projects. The people that make messages, just like in a video, just like in video games. Phil doesn't make a message. Phil just signs the check and says, "Go." I'm talking about the people that actually make the games. I'm talking about the developers. I'm talking about the writers. They know the game's going to be ass before it launches. They fucking know.
Okay, so I'm primarily focusing on the money people here. But even at Dragon Age, right, there's some people who like the game. Some maybe you can say that, they give them too much cash to, spread their ideas or whatever you want to say. But the point still stands.
Mhm.
No one is out there trying to make a 4 out of 10 game or 2 out of 10 game. They might believe
My guy.
that the game's is going to be great and the game sucks, they might
They
believe
know we're
that.
gonna shit on them. They know,
They might know
but
that,
the
but listen,
message is
but
more
EA
important.
themselves probably felt the game. Yeah, it should at least do at least 4 million, 5 million, whatever it is. But it doesn't. It's like this is art. This is the industry. These things happen. So I don't think we can just say like, well, everyone wants to make a bad game. I don't think that's not true.
I'm saying it. I'm saying it.
No, I
I'm
think you're
saying
wrong
there are
there.
people.
I think you're
I'm
wrong.
saying there are people who set out not to make good products, but to prove a point and to send a message. That's what I'm saying. And for me, if you're making any type of art that is commercial and you're not trying to please the people that you want to get money from, you're already kneecapping yourself.
Listen, Patricia's Prime again with an amazing take. I was waiting for this guy. I was like, why is it? The chat is very weird today. Everyone's just
Okay,
talking shit.
hold on. But before you respond to Bajitkas, Mystic Fragments had a question that I think is interesting. It says, was it smart long term for Microsoft to fuck the Expedition 33 devs by releasing Oblivion remaster the same day their game release? So first off, it wasn't the same day, but it was definitely the same week, 2 days before Expedition 33. In my personal opinion, they did not screw Expedition 33 because first off, they paid them to be on Game Pass. So right off the bat, they didn't get screwed. And second, I do feel like a lot of people that were looking at Expedition 33 will not be dissuaded from giving that a go because of Oblivion. Real quick, Oshers and Ty, do you agree or do you disagree with Sour Blow here?
I lean more towards Sourblow's points because
They screwed him.
I won't say they screwed them, but I think there's probably some Game Pass, bonuses. How many people are playing your game, downloads. That's going to play a role in that game's, financial success. And for them to release Oblivion and it's having this huge uptick of players, with 200K or nearly 200K Steam players already. Yeah, I think it's a bit of a distraction. And I think it kind of goes back to my point. Even though if Oblivion is completely different. Yeah, it's RPG, but we're talking about a game that's a
They're both
JRPG
on the
like.
same platform. They're
Yeah, but
both
like
on the same
it's even more
platform.
like one of them is more JRPG focused. The truth is this: there's neutral people out there who are looking for things to play, and these neutral
Mhm.
people are very swayed by what the industry is saying. When I say industry, I mean like us, like gamers,
Yeah,
swayed
yeah.
by YouTubers and
What's trending?
Twitter, what's trending. And if Oblivion is trending now, they're gonna purchase that. And if they're maybe 20 hours in and they're loving it, and then Club Obscure comes out and the weekend is around the corner, the question is, well, what do you play? Now you could buy both of them, but some people are gonna say, no, I'm gonna chill because I have Oblivion right now. I'm gonna
Most
play
people
that
won't
instead.
buy both of them. Most people won't even install both of them. So yeah, that's a good point. It's a good point.
So I
Oshis,
think it hurts a little bit. I mean, I'm gonna say it hurts it, but it hurts the momentum.
okay. Oshis, do you agree with Sour Blow? Were they screwed or not?
Sorry, just run the question by me again.
Was it smart long term for Microsoft to screw the Expedition 33 devs by
Oh, okay,
releasing
yeah, yeah.
Oblivion? Yeah.
So to me, it's a bit of a that one's a bit of a oh, I need to think. Okay, so when it comes to that one, I don't think I think it's you right to be concerned. Like it's knowing how big Oblivion is, give
Mm.
your games some room to breathe. In fact, I think Oblivion is even gonna screw something like Avowed because a lot of people are gonna even forget that Avowed was released this year or was even a talking
Was
point
anyone
because of
even
how.
playing Avowed right now?
No, I don't think so. But like the whole
I
thing
don't
with
think
Avowed
so.
Most is that when you put something on Game Pass, is that you hope that someone will discover it, by whatever on Game Pass. But I really feel that this game is going to overshadow games like that, especially for Microsoft's own first party studio. And maybe they should have. I mean, like Microsoft got so many games this year, dude. Like they could have spaced it out and released it later on in the year. There was no pressure for them
Oh,
to drop this
stop
game.
it, Osha. Stop it. Come on.
No, but like
1 minute Xbox doesn't release games. Now it's too many games. God damn it.
No, but the thing is, like, I'm answering your question about Are you strangling games like Expedition 33,
Mm.
who are smaller with smaller budgets, who have everything to gain from having some breathing room? Yes, you are. Like when you release big, especially when they're competing against or in the same platform like Game Pass, like
Yeah,
Steam, like
yeah.
PS5 and Xbox. That is definitely going to hurt them. um, the severity of that, I don't know. I don't think it's going to be too severe.
Yeah, I guess we'll find out how
Yeah.
viral Oblivion gets and also how viral Clear Obscure gets. Because we just sit here and we assume that Clear Obscure is just going to be like, okay, maybe it's like earth shatteringly good, you know? Maybe people are crying by the end of like their third or fourth playthrough. It it might be the next Neo Automata. So you don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Mystic brings up a good point that I always like to throw out there, but Oshus gets very triggered. Says everything that consumes time to me is competing. The playoffs, movies, series, etc., and definitely games. I feel I feel that's 1,000,000% true.
Facts.
1,000,000%.
So if
Um,
that's the argument that Tyre had made, I would have agreed to say everything, including Breath of the Wild and whatever, is fighting for the same time. Then to me that makes more sense than to say it's competing directly against another game like a
yeah, it's
Horizon Zero Dawn.
it's indirect. It's indirect. Like for example, Netflix could bleed into your gaming time. You know, you could set some time aside to be like, no, I'm just gonna watch one episode of House on Netflix, and then you're 5 episodes in. It's already 10 p.m. Time to go to bed. You know, guess you're not gonna play video games today. It did compete and win against your gaming time, but it's not competing directly. Yeah, Dorian Gray. Happy 50th anniversary to the Nia franchise. Those games are so good, bro. The Nia games, they're so freaking good. Fuzzy says it's a lot, but I'll definitely try both. I'm not mad about it. I'm not upset, Fuzzy. Just honestly frustrated that I don't have more time to put into these games because Game Pass is excellent. And I think we can end the show on that note, guys. Game Pass is exceptional. Uh, Ty, please plug your channel. Tell people where they can find you, and tell us what your favorite and least favorite thing about Game Pass is.
You guys can find me at Tayo Talks, TAYETALKS, on Twitter and on YouTube. My favorite thing about Game Pass would be that there's a diverse range of games and you get day one products. That's two things actually. The
Mm.
thing that I don't like about Game Pass is that it's not particularly for me useful. I don't play that many games, and to have a selection like 100 plus games just doesn't really like it's not something that I would need. So as a result, I've unsubscribed from Game Pass because I just don't need it. I think most people will fall into that category.
Fair enough. Oshus, tell people where they can find you, and then also tell us what you like about Game Pass, what you don't like about Game Pass. Oshus,
Does it
are
keep
you
muting
still
me?
there? Okay, there you go. What happened? Oshus?
Sorry, it keeps muting me without let me no.
Something's probably wrong with Oshus's mic.
It's my MacBook.
Maybe it's your what?
My Mac is acting up because I'm not having these issues with my PC.
Of course he
Can you
uses
hear
a
me now?
Mac. That's why you're having problems, sir.
This guy.
Get a proper computer. Get a proper computer and you'll be fine.
I do have a proper
Ty,
computer.
it's explained.
Anyway,
It's explained. Now we know why he always has issues
Mhm.
when we come on the
Here we go.
podcast.
Actually, Ushers, before you say this point, let me just reiterate this because I actually did find the answer here. During the FTC trial testimony on Zelda Impact, in the proceedings, Microsoft presented internal data showing that the launch of Tears of the Kingdom led to a significant decrease in playtime on both Xbox and PlayStation consoles. This was used to illustrate how a major exclusive title on one platform can influence player behavior across the entire gaming ecosystem. The arguments emphasized that exclusive high-quality games like Tears of the Kingdom can draw players away from competing platforms, therefore affecting overall engagement metrics. This was Xbox saying that Nintendo is part of the system, and games like Tears of the Kingdom or even Mario Kart, they're so big because they have so much ground when it comes to sales that you do not want to drop near them. So this is my point. So when we say things like Forza and Mario Kart, yeah, we can say they're very different games, but we know Mario Kart. Actually, Forza is actually a pretty big title, so that's actually a good argument. But
Yes,
Mario
but I'm
Kart
a
is-
40 million. That's
yeah,
a
but
one
Mario
game.
Kart is so big, and so is Pokemon, so is Zelda, so is Monster Hunter, that you just don't want to be near them. And that's why I actually made this point to you guys that if you're a movie, I don't care what movie you are, don't drop the same day as GTA. Doesn't matter how different you are. You just don't, because you don't want to lose momentum because some man or some guy wants to take his kid to go watch Minecraft, but now the kid is saying, "No, I want to play GTA." Like, you don't want this kind of confusion. You don't want your work colleagues talking about this other product. You just kind of want a clear space. This is also why I would say Assassin's Creed Valhalla did really well, and I think it's also pretty much why, because today Oblivion just dropped. There's no other game anyone's playing. Assassin's Creed Shadows dropped a while ago. Kingdom Come Deliverance is gone. Like, Oblivion is just a remake, but everyone's talking about it because there's nothing else to talk about. And then when Clear Obscure comes out, that might actually shift the conversation from Oblivion to Clear Obscure if it has really, really good sales or numbers.
No.
I doubt
Listen, I'm looking forward to Clear Obscure, Ty. But it's not shifting the conversation from from Oblivion.
Fair. But we still
If-
can say that even though South of Midnight is a completely different game, for it to drop a day before Oblivion Remake or Clear Obscure, completely different genres, it would affect it in some way, shape, or form from a media perspective.
So I agree. Like,
I'm reluctant to buy everything, like exactly everything that Xbox said during the FTC hearings.
No. It wasn't what they
Because-
said. No. They showed internal data, and the judge was like, "Yeah, these are facts."
Yeah, and
the thing is,
send me
look
this
at, like,
link. Send me this link.
Yeah, sure. I'll send it
No,
to you.
look,
Also,
I-
but just a real quick one. They said PlayStation as well, so Sony could have just come out and said that's a lie, but they didn't.
No, but like, my thing is, like, for me, I look at like an evidence and I believe you that like that evidence is correct. But I look at that and I see different things. But I'm not gonna dispute that and say that that's the point that you're making is not valid. But what I'm going to say, what I'm gonna add to that is that this is Microsoft showing how important exclusives are. The same company that says no, we're not about that. They were
Oh,
saying
God.
that exclusivity disrupted their own sales in their own ecosystem or disrupted everyone's sales in there. So yeah, it sounds believable to me if they say it, but it just shows me just like, why are we
Oh,
doing
man.
anything as Microsoft if we know that
Any
that's the data?
opportunity. This man will not lose
But this man said
any
he
opportunity.
brought this point to me that this is Microsoft's evidence saying exclusives are important. They can disrupt sales, they can disrupt hardware, they can disrupt, but we don't care. But okay, that makes sense to me.
He's right. Microsoft did say that.
All right. To end the show,
But I didn't get
Please.
a chance to answer my questions.
all right, go ahead.
Yeah, so what was it like with the best thing about Game Pass and the worst thing about Game Pass? Right?
Yeah.
So best thing about Game Pass is the fact that I can now afford more games than I ever could before, because instead of having to buy 5 games a quarter, like, I can now say, you know what, 3 are on Game Pass, and then the other 2 I can actually have money to purchase them because they have some big releases coming out intermittently, like a Doom.
What a
that I would
brokey.
buy. Yeah, because I am a brokey. I live in a third world country. Do you want to humiliate me some more, Loke?
What a brokey.
So yeah, so that is the high point. The low point about Game Pass, I just feel that
Here
it
we
also
go.
the value is so good. I'll phrase it in a way that I'm not gonna offend the exports. The value is so good.
it discourages Xbox owners from actually buying and owning games. They'd rather just rent.
I don't think that's
And
true.
I think that's true for first party only. I don't think it's true for third party. Because third party games don't stay. They get kicked off after like 6 months. But yeah, it's a valid point. It's a valid point. On that note, thank you everyone for watching. We really do appreciate you guys coming through and making sure you lit up the comment section. Thank you for your feedback, your voices of encouragement and discouragement when Oshus was out here capping. And please make sure to follow Raichi's final instruction. Raichi, thank you so much for that $2 Canadian super chat saying, let's support Matt's channel. He's doing the Oblivion gameplay on the Series S. Ladies and gentlemen, the channel name is Matt Likes Games on YouTube. Make sure to go and check out his review, his let's play, and his gameplay like overview and thoughts on the game. He's a very thoughtful guy. Only problem is that he licks games before he plays them. I don't know what that's about. But listen, no one's perfect, all right? No one's perfect. Matt Sour Blow. Matt Likes Games. That's the name of the channel. I'm going to put it up on the screen. Raichi spelled it out here in the chat. Make sure you guys go there and support a friend of the channel, Mr. Matt. He loves Xbox, and he's definitely going to be in on this one day one. Thank you so much for watching, commenting, and participating. We'll see you tomorrow for the lowdown on TSWS Gaming. Goodbye.